All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Sunday episode of the Market Futures stream. We are here on Sunday, December 22nd, 7:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We missed last week because I was coming in late back into New Jersey from the Army-Navy game. But we are here today, and it has been a relatively chill weekend in regards to the stock market, equities, etc. Until this morning. This morning, we had some stuff happen. And we've got to talk about what happened, particularly in the context of Palantir. Just like a whole host of things, if you were on Twitter this morning and were following, happened. And we're going to break down what happened, why it's important, the implications it has on Palantir. And in 9 minutes, if the Robinhood overnight markets are going to factor in all the things that happened this morning in regards to the stock price. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about crypto. That's not really having, I'm just looking at Bitcoin right now. I haven't looked at it in like 2 hours. 94,373. That's not good. I think the Bitcoin proxies are definitely going to get a little hit at 8 p.m. when the overnight markets open from that. 92 was the low on Wednesday that we hit when we had the whole J-Powell presser sell-off. Rebounded on Friday. Actually, the entire market rebounded really nicely. So we'll talk about kind of what happened last week and the rebound. But Bitcoin not being able to hold up as well at 94,400 right now. If we don't reclaim certain levels on Bitcoin, it does look like this thing can get pretty aggressive. And yeah, on top of that, we'll just talk about the expectations going into this week. We only have tomorrow. And then, so tomorrow's a full day, and then tomorrow then Christmas Eve we have a half day, and then Christmas is closed, and then you still have the markets on the 26th and the 27th. So we actually do have 3 days of trading this week. 1 day is closed, and the other day is a half day. But besides the 24th and 25th, we are still going to have a pretty strong week of trading, and the Santa Claus rally usually happens after December 25th, if there is any rally. So this week we might see the beginning of that, or we might see some things that go in the opposite direction. So we'll see how it plays out. I am wearing Christmas sweater. We weren't able to do the, I showed you guys this. It says Maui Christmas underneath it. Ugly Christmas sweater. We weren't able to do the Palantir weekly episode this week. So, cause CodeStrap had to cancel. So we're going to do it next week, and we'll be wearing the ugly Christmas sweaters discussing the 2024 that Palantir had. And I think that we'll get started with that as our first topic, because this week, or this day, literally today, is going to put an end to a pretty exciting 2024 for Palantir. First of all, thank everybody for being here. We got June, Michael, Jeremy, Duncan, Rango. Why is Bitcoin down? Any news? I have no idea, dude. Also, I'm getting annoyed at all the technical analysts around Bitcoin. I called Jason out for this publicly on our Twitter Spaces the other day, because he was like, when he came on Tuesday, Bitcoin was at 100,000, 102,000. He was like, we're going to 120. And then on Thursday on the Twitter Spaces audio show that we do, he was like, yeah, man, Bitcoin's looking tough. And I called him out. I was like, dude, like pick a side, right? Like, if you're going to flip-flop that easily, and obviously I'm joking with him, but still there's a level of truth. It's like, if you're going to flip-flop that quickly just because Bitcoin gives up a certain level, like, why even do technical analysis on Bitcoin in the first place, right? If it's that volatile where you can't even have a sort of like decent understanding of where you think it's going to go. I don't think anyone knows. I don't think anyone knows. All the technical analysts that I've seen have flip-flopped so quickly over the past couple of weeks in regards to the stance on Bitcoin. When it was at 108, everyone thought it was going to 150. Now it's at 94. People are like, might not even be able to hold 85. I don't know. I don't think anyone freaking knows. But eventually, we will find out over the next coming weeks what happens with Bitcoin. But I don't know if there's any news for why it's down today. It's just continues to be down. Cole, what's up? Dragos, Eddie, Marcus, Tigger, Rafi, what's up? What's up? What's up? Pox, thank you for being here today. GE Trading, what's up? Byron, Greg, Adam, IC, Melanie, your sweater is like earnings day green, no red. Oh, it's red, now it's green. That's a good one. That is a good one. That is correct. I'm happy you got red and green though, because the other Christmas sweaters I was looking at were like orangey, and I was like, I want red and green. So my mom's birthday was my mom's birthday's today, and we had a cool thing yesterday. I basically took her out on a date for the entire day, and then we surprised her at night. She had no idea. We had her friends and family at this like restaurant for her. So I took her out at like 12 p.m. starting yesterday, and we just did a bunch of things. And then at night, we surprised her at this Italian restaurant. So it was really cool, really fun birthday. But one of the places I took her to was freaking freaking Lion King on Broadway. So we saw Lion King on Broadway, and it was a great experience. I loved it. It was fun. But I think I have a little bit of an issue, dude, because the whole time these lions were singing and dancing, and I was thinking about stocks, bro. The whole time it was bad. Like I'm watching Hakuna Matata, and I'm like, well, if we sell the $5 and then we do this, and then we put the spread on top. Like I was literally calculating call debit spreads and cash secure put returns in my head. It was kind of ridiculous, bro. And it was nice. It was nice to see it. But it's like the lines dancing couldn't stop me from thinking. I almost took out my phone and looked at the options chain. I was like, no, let me not do that. There were so many kids in the theater and stuff. They were also like excited to see the Lion King. I was excited too, but I was also like calculating returns in my head. So it was it was kind of funny, but it was cool. It was fun. It was dope, and we got to surprise my mom really nicely at the end of the day. So that was fun as well. So that was my weekend. I was actually out the whole day on Saturday. It was freezing cold in New York, bro. Like freezing cold. I drove my Tesla to New York for the first time, so I never driven my Tesla into the city. So that was a good experience as well. And that was cool to do and kind of navigate. And, like I usually walk New York City, don't drive in it. So I got experience of doing that. Got to take my mom out to a bunch of different places. Lion King was cool. Got to surprise her at the end of the day. So yesterday I wasn't like that in tune with the markets. But then this morning we had a lot of news drop, particularly on Palantir. And so we're going to be discussing all of that as well. It's kind of snowing. Not really, though. It's just like it's that type of cold where it's not snowing, but you could just feel it. You just feel how cold it is. And you don't need the snow to prove how cold it is. You just feel how cold it is. It was like 15 degrees, right? So, I mean, there was snow here and there, but it wasn't like heavy snow. It was just cold. Completely cold. All right. So, let's talk about Palantir news. We have 3 minutes until the market opens. Well, actually, here's what we're going to do. We're going to play a video that came out by Karp today for the next 2 minutes, and then as soon as those 2 minutes are done, we will look at overnight trading, and then after that, I'm gonna need a good 15 minutes to get through all the crap that happened this morning, because a lot of crap happened in regards to Palantir. So first of all, here's Alex Karp and his end of year message for investors in Palantir.
From everyone at Palantir, a very, very, very Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and a truly wonderful New Year. This has been an extraordinary year for Palantirians the world over, and our supporters the world over. We got into the S&P, which is a sign of the juggernaut that our products created. We made people understand that ontology is the power engine that makes LLMs actually useful on the battlefield in the commercial arena. We are at the core of making the obvious superiority of the West not just a moral platitude, but a factual reality in industry, especially in America, on the battlefield, both for America, most importantly, as the leader of the free world, and for our most important allies. We are grateful to the people who installed our product, helped us build our products, and have used our products, especially those that are in harm's way, even as we speak. Also, exceedingly grateful to all of you individual investors who took the time and opportunity and had the courage to look past conventional, rusty, crusty platitudes and look at our company as it is, talk to our actual clients and people whose enterprise we're transforming, and put your own money at stake. And on this Christmas, all of us Palantirians are very, very grateful for the role we play in making the West stronger, better, and undergirding its superiority as a force of good and something to be reckoned with, and on occasion feared. Thank you.
All right, overnight markets just opened. Palantir's at 81. We're up 0.5% on Palantir. Robinhood's at 38.32. That's basically flat. I thought that would be down to like 36 given Bitcoin collapse, but Robinhood's green. Wow. Somehow Robinhood's green. That's weird because Bitcoin's down a lot, but okay, that's up. MSTR is down 2%, 353. Palantir is at 81. We were a little bit above 81, but 81.10 right there. If we start normalizing $80, folks, if we start normalizing $80, that is going to be very, very interesting. Tesla right here at 424.45. So Tesla is slightly up as well. Tesla actually sold off into the close, which kind of sucked on Friday. Now, granted, Tesla's outperformed everything this entire like past 3 weeks. Tesla's been the number one performer. So makes sense that's getting a little bit of a breather, but it did sell off into the close. It was at 435, then it got to 424. S&P is slightly up. Dow Jones is up a little bit. IWM small caps are up a little bit, 0.5%. Nvidia up 0.78%, 135. Robinhood somehow is green, and I really have no idea why, because Bitcoin is down like $2,000-3,000. So I guess the market's kind of not caring about that right now. GameStop's up a little bit, 30.40. Snowflake's at 167. Again, Tesla 425, PayPal 87.15, ARK 59, SoFi 15.49. SoFi's up about 1% as well. Not bad. Affirm 66.10. That's up a little bit. Palantir 81.10. Palantir's holding 81. Palantir's holding 81. Coinbase. What is Coinbase? Coinbase is at 272. That's down 2.4%. That makes sense. SoFi is at 15.50. And Boeing, let's do Boeing. Boeing is up 178, up 0.37%. I don't know if Riggedy trades overnight, RGTI. Does that one trade overnight? No, it doesn't trade overnight. That one's 960 from Friday. The main thing here is Palantir is keeping 80, holding it, and now it's trying to get into the 81s, 82s, 83s of the world at this level. Volume currently on Palantir is 25,000 shares. Not a ton of volume, but the volume is green, or the volume is more buy side than sell side, given we are green. SMCI is at 32.10. That's up 1.6. And then AMD is green, 120.39, up 1%. Okay, so let's talk about Palantir. Because a lot of stuff happened today. And a decent amount of stuff happened on Palantir this morning that I didn't expect. So although, yesterday I celebrated my mom's birthday, we still went out for breakfast today. And while I'm at Denny's, by the way, at dinner last night, at dessert, they do like coffee and espresso and all that stuff when you eat dinner. I had it's gonna sound so stupid because you guys are gonna be like, what, like, where have you been living this whole time? But I had black coffee for the first time, like just coffee with no sugar, no cream, none of that. I had it for the first time. And I really like it. And today at Denny's, I drank it again to make myself like actually fair. Do I actually like it? And I really like it. I think I'm gonna start drinking. I think I'm gonna grow up. Get rid of all these lattes and all this. I think I'm gonna get into coffee. I'm gonna get into regular black coffee, no cream, no sugar. I like that there was no sugar. I like there was no cream. There was one of the ladies that was on our table. She was she's a doctor and she like knows a lot of stuff about like just coffee and what it does for health. And she said it's actually very healthy for you to drink just like pure black coffee. It's good for your liver, gets rid of a lot of acid, all this stuff. So I don't know, bro. I think I'm gonna just start drinking regular coffee like a normal adult instead of caramel lattes. But anyway, tomorrow morning we'll see if I go get a black coffee. If I do, I'll show you guys in the market open. But I'm kind of a fan. I know it's so random. It's like, dude, like it's been 27 years. Like now coffee. It's like, yeah, I don't know. Last night it kind of changed my perspective. All right, let's start with Palantir. So what happened this morning that began everything going on? Well, we had the Karp video, which was wild, right? Then we had this happen 7 hours ago, and this began the crusade of news that was coming today. Elon Musk followed the Palantir Twitter account. There are some accounts that are like, this one is called Elon Alerts, and it basically is automatically triggered every time Elon like does anything. And Elon followed Palantir yesterday, and so the account was like, yeah, we're gonna report that Elon followed Palantir. And so, some people might say, oh, this is not that big of a deal. Elon's following Palantir. It's whatever. But I mean, look, Elon only follows a couple hundred people or a couple hundred accounts. It does signify something, in my opinion, that Elon is following Palantir. We saw the Palantir logo at the Army Navy game with Elon, Trump, and Vance in that iconic picture. And someone commented under it, wow, this picture is so much cooler because the Palantir logo is there. And Elon responded to it with an American flag emoji. So there is some affinity that he's been showing towards Palantir for a while. Okay. Then minutes later, we get our boy Evan, who is now using this picture for all the Palantir news. I see myself in this picture. I'm like, what happened? Palantir and Anduril are reportedly in talks with companies including SpaceX, OpenAI, and more to form a group, essentially a consortium, that would jointly bid for government contracts. This right here is why everyone has been excited about Doge and Palantir. This right here is the reason. I think that's the actual reason Elon followed Palantir on Twitter today. Because essentially, if Palantir, Anduril, which by the way had a press release 2 weeks ago about them forming this consortium to like make the government more effective and efficient, streamline operational efficiencies, all this like stuff that they would be trying to institute within government software platforms. And it was a cool partnership, but no one really knew what it was about. Now it looks like that partnership is opening up to other government contractors like SpaceX to collectively bid against legacy defense contractors. For example, SpaceX competes with Boeing, and Boeing still gets tens of billions of dollars of contracts that SpaceX probably should be getting. And a lot of the government's probably realizing, why the hell is SpaceX not getting these deals? Because Boeing really can't get a lot of things done. And it's sort of the same argument is there for Palantir. It looks like they're going to all be working together. So everyone who was calling bulls ridiculous for assuming there was a serious link between Doge and Palantir, which given I see a decent amount of responses to the bull side of Palantir from the bear side, a lot of people are like, this is stupid. There is no link between Doge and Palantir. And I'm like, well, I just went to Palantir and I talked to the employees there. And a lot of them think there is a meaningful potential that Doge maybe has a chance to at least analyze the effects of spending on the government. And when you analyze those effects, you come to one conclusion, which is, oh, what is the company that actually saves money and gets the job done? Palantir. And like from that perspective, there's at least an argument, but a lot of the bears just like wrote it off. I don't think they were listening to what was actually being said and how the concept of government efficiency was incredibly congruent with the mission of Palantir. Even Karp himself on that Fox Business interview 2 weeks ago acknowledged that Elon was the perfect person, verbatim, he said that, to be running Doge, and praised the mission of Doge as a way for the government to gain more legitimacy with the American public. It seems pretty likely that if this group comes together and they collectively bid for contracts, that is going to be massive, massive potential for government growth in regards to Palantir. And that's why it's really exciting. That's why it's really, really exciting to kind of see how this is playing out. So I'm going to pull up that article from the Financial Times. And if we can't go through it tonight, definitely tomorrow morning, we're going to get bits and pieces of those articles, of the article. Oh, I got it. Perfect. I got it. Okay, so we'll read a couple paragraphs from this article in a bit. But the fact that Palantir and Anduril are being seen as the two modern defense contractors that are working together and now working with OpenAI, SpaceX, etc., even though they all compete with each other, sometimes they all work with each other. Palantir and Anduril obviously work with each other a ton for the Titan contract. They're kind of the backbone, and they beat Raytheon for that contract. All of them all understand that, hey, the legacy defense contractors were winning contracts because one retired Army general is on the board of directors of XYZ company, and that's how the deals were getting done. Versus a true meritocratic analysis of what is efficient, what is not efficient, and using that analysis to then factor in how we should determine if something should get if a country should get a contract or should not get a contract. And it looks like that's what's going to be happening in the future for Doge. On top of that, then you had a couple other things happen today. Mr. Bill Ackman joins the party. Although he is not long Palantir, take a look at what he says as soon as this news comes out from the Financial Times. So Bill Ackman right here. Again, this was the headline. Palantir and Anduril, two of the largest U.S. defense technology companies, are in talks with about a dozen competitors like SpaceX and OpenAI to form a consortium that will jointly bid for U.S. government work. Bill Ackman says, this would be the dream team, and no, our enemies cannot compete. I just read an advanced copy of The Technological Republic, Hard Power and Soft Power, The Future of the West by Alex Karp, the founder of Palantir. He makes the case for big tech working with government on big tech problems, including defense, explaining how big tech abandoned our government and country when their workers protested defense-related businesses. It's a good read, and that's exactly what happened with the Project Maven contract in 2019. Google basically rejected it. Palantir swooped in, took on like a $200 million contract. But Karp in the book, and I haven't read the book yet, but Karp basically, it seems like it's talking about the moral decline of the West for Google to work with China but not work with our own government only 5 years ago, and how, you know, the tides are changing in regards to what we think about American defense. He says we should all be reminded that American values that we all hold dear, including our democracy, exist only because of our ability to defend ourselves. That is a fact. Our technology companies are fundamentally our only protection from oppression. Imagine if our worst enemies developed AI capabilities greater than us. It would be a living nightmare. That's why I think Karp's book also is going to be really important going into February when it comes out. I mean, talk about the marketing for Palantir that book is going to do. But when you have people like Bill Ackman praising the concept of the book and the concept of the idea of Palantir getting more contracts and retaining their government supremacy against a lot of these other defense contractors that just don't really have America's best interest in mind, it gets really exciting to see what that could mean for Palantir long term. Sachin right here in the chat says, big tech took the leadership in lobbying government from big oil and big tobacco, but decided not to help defense and army, has let big military industrial complex to stay. Not a group of rogues is ready. Yeah, I agree. I mean, really over the past 10 years, big tech wanted to make sure social media wouldn't get banned. Facebook, YouTube, all that stuff. And they did a pretty good job compelling the government to like understand the value of social media and these like powerful networks that get billions of users. But in regards to defense, you know, they really haven't cared. Even though Amazon, Microsoft, Google, they do have defense contracts with cloud computing and all this stuff, but it was kind of on the back burner because they were making so much money from search and all these other things that like just didn't matter as much as the defense business. VC money is coming back into defense, which means there's a ton of money in the private sector chasing sort of American dynamism. B, we're seeing American values under threat. And I think some of the tech companies are realizing, all right, you know, we're not going to be gung-ho, we love America, but we definitely can't be, we hate America right here, because America is the best place to work or best place to do business outside of every part of the world. And they knew this a decade ago, right? But now they kind of explicitly have to acknowledge it, because when your values are under threat, now it becomes a question of like actually taking a stance. And then C, I think they're seeing the value of companies like Palantir that are worth almost $200 billion, probably not doing numerically the amount of revenue to justify $200 billion, but the entire world is coming together to buy up this stock, partly and because they believe that Palantir's mission is so vast, so strong, and they're so unapologetic about it, and they kind of just don't care what anyone else thinks, that probably is the framework you want to have going into the future, especially when we think about what it means to defend the United States of America as a company that actually has software that can help defend the US of A. And so I also think a lot of these big tech CEOs started seeing the backlash from the Israel-Hamas situation. And I think in particular, remember at Google, in I think a year ago, there were protesters inside of Thomas Kurian's office, who is the head of Google Cloud, from people saying that Google should stop supplying their cloud computing technology to Israel's government. And I think a lot of these big tech CEOs had enough of that. And they were just like, you know what, we need to have a different paradigm here. So that's what we got. That's what we got for Palantir. Tons of stuff happening today. And we are seeing a lot of momentum in regards to the overall brand of the business. Palantir stock right here, currently right now, $80.33. So we are slightly down. We are still holding 80, which is incredible. We'll talk more about the stock in a bit, but we are holding $80 right now. And maybe we start the process of normalizing 80 this week. We're going to see. We are going to see if that happened. Austin says Andreessen's little tech agenda is playing out. Yeah, and then you got David Sachs, who, like Mark Andreessen, cares about little tech. And Mr. David Sachs took a little bit of a victory lap here today. So we got to talk about this as well. David Sachs says, oh, look, another prediction I was right about while getting clowned by Jason. This was 40 seconds of him in September talking about Palantir.
Believe what you want.
I don't. This is the first I'm hearing about it. I don't have my tinfoil hat here. But who knows? I guess
use their products if you want to. Use their products if you want to.
There you have it, folks. And Sachs puts his endorsement behind Palantir. Definitely not deep state Palantir.
No, Palantir. Look, there's no question that Palantir sells into the deep state, but yes. I don't know that makes it deep state.
Well, I mean, they're on your team as opposed to the other team. So
no, hold on. I'm not on any team. In respect, I don't really understand.
Look, all these guys are laughing, but David Sachs is having the last laugh. Why? Because he is now the AI crypto czar. David Sachs has been the only one who's actually been consistent with his opinion over the past couple years in regards to politics. I mean, look, I like the all-in guys. I really am not becoming a fan of Jason. I'm starting to, and it has nothing to do with politics. It's his ability to flip-flop on an opinion and be so unbelievably dogmatic and ideological. I'm not a fan of. Also, he interrupts people way too much in the podcast. It is getting insane. Like how I don't know how he can be a podcast host and interrupt people every 5 minutes. But outside of that, Chamath, Well, Friedberg's also been pretty consistent, but Friedberg's tends to be not as political. He tends to be more in the science realm. But Chamath and Jason are not consistent. Like, they're just not. They flip-flop like a lot. David, and I've listened to the podcast for the past couple of years now, so I can tell when the flip-flop's coming. David is always, whether you love him or hate him, he's been consistent. And he's believed in a certain set of values, and that is why he is the AI crypto czar, and that's why he gets to take the last laugh right here, because Palantir has more than doubled since this clip, while the other guys were laughing about him, you know, investing in some deep state company, which, call it deep state, call it whatever you want to call it. Palantir is going to be making the government, it seems like, much more efficient given the news we got today. And those government deals are going to be very, very important for Palantir. Now, having said that, because Mr. David took a nice little victory lap across Jason, you know that Jason had to fight back because Jason has a very, very fragile ego. And I'm not trying to take shots at Jason, but it's just objectively true. Like, he's a public figure. If you look at how he acts towards anything, he's a very, very thin skin, big ego. And so he starts going on a tirade about Palantir being overvalued, probably because he missed the run, right? But nonetheless, we get a little tirade from Mr. Jason. He says, I think we were joking about them being part of the deep state, not the stock price, but at a 400 PE and 65 times price to sales, looks like a good time to take some profits on the name. In fact, insiders told me they are selling into this insanity. First of all, he's not really breaking news right here, saying insiders told me they're selling into this insanity. Like, we can see the SEC filings, Jason. Insiders are definitely selling. The question then becomes, do you read insider selling as the number one reason to trim your position or get out of the stock because you think this thing is going to collapse? And I think this is the problem all the bears, and Jason joins the club today, of that are so deeply invested in the valuation versus in the actual story, is I think they've missed the boat on Palantir. And look, I'm not here justifying 65 times price of sales. I'm not justifying $185 billion market cap. I've been very clear since $40 that I thought it was getting expensive, and it's just gotten more expensive every time. And there hasn't really been any like numerical change in the business in regards to growth or something. We got some contracts here and there, but a lot of that's already priced in. We did get into the NASDAQ, which was important, and I think that's why we pumped on Friday as well. But a lot of times stocks can trade on sentiment and stories over numbers if they are some of the most special companies in the world. And still those companies go through pullbacks, and still those company goes through drawdowns. We saw what happened with Tesla, right? Got to 400, came all the way back to 100, took 3 years to get back to 400, and now it's starting to gain its momentum. So these things have happened before. But to deny what we're seeing in our eyes in terms of the momentum and value that can be created for Palantir and only look to the numbers, which again, the numbers are up there. I'm not arguing that it's not. I think that is why so many people have consistently missed the story and they haven't understood what is happening. Also, based on the fact that, hey, we don't know how much Palantir can grow. I mean, I'm doing a video on the UBS $80 price target that's going to come out later this week, probably going to come out tomorrow. And that entire article, or that entire equity report is astonishing, because basically UBS is like, yeah, we think the valuation is too high, but we're putting an $80 price target on it because we can't not be a part of the story because of how special this company is. And so when you have, and this is a really good report, by the way, again, I'll do my video on this tomorrow. It'll be like a long 20, 30 minute video. I'm going to go through every part of what they said. But the fact that they're saying, look, we're neutral, $80. Yes, it's expensive. The title of the video is, or the title of the article is, a key AI data winner, but valuation is a high hurdle, launched with a neutral rating. The fact that they're initiating coverage because they talked to 17 different clients and they put in all these blurbs of how their clients are saying how incredible the company is and how fundamentally differentiated it is and how much it deserves, in their words, a quote unquote material premium to their software partners, just means there's a bigger story here. It just means there is a bigger story here. And by the way, what is evaluation? Evaluation is a story that the entire world kind of comes together around on a stock and decides to buy or sell based on the valuation that they believe the company deserves to be worth, in the most simplest of ways. Look, could Palantir have a decline from here? Yes. Is it going back to 30? I think it's hard. Because even if 30 is quote unquote the fair value that people want to give it based on the numbers, whatever, people are not letting that happen. They're just not. Does Apple really deserve 250? No. I think all of us know Apple does not deserve 250. But is Apple going back to 200? No, because the market's not letting it go back to 200 unless we have some like macroeconomic issue, right? Maybe it goes back to 235, 240. Maybe Palantir goes back to 65 or 60, but I don't think it's going back to 30. And so I think the bears hated it at 65, 60. They obviously hated it at 80. They're only going to be happy it comes back to 30 or 35. And I just don't think that's going to happen. So this is going to be an expensive name. That's okay that it's expensive, but that is something that it looks like will happen for Palantir for a while. And I think that's what we're going to see. I think that's what we are going to see when it comes to Palantir. How do you price a stock that will be at the center of the universe for the next decade? Yeah, I mean, I think that's another argument as well. And if you really do think Palantir is going to be at the center of the universe, where you can disagree with that, but from every headline we've seen over the past 2 months, it is at the center of the universe and looks like it's only going to stay at that center of the universe. It is definitely hard to price it. All this at the same time, I'm saying I'm not buying here. I'm not buying it at $80. It is expensive. But I'm allowed to say that, look, it's expensive here, and also say, because I established a position years ago, I don't think it needs to come back down to my average of $21 because like the company has matured. There's a new brand identity to it. Their revenue is very sticky revenue. Even though other companies are growing faster than Palantir, their revenue is not as sticky as the SaaS revenue that Palantir has. And there's an argument that Palantir can continue holding up these multiples as well. Yes, Bill Ackman did mention Palantir on X, David. We just went through it. If you rewind like 10 minutes, we talked about Bill Ackman's post on Palantir. Everyone is starting to hop on this Palantir train as well. Michael says, especially if you've been locked up on shares for the past 10 years, 100%. Like a lot of these insiders that sold, I mean, they've been holding shares for like 10 to 15 years. So it's not that crazy for them to take profits here. But again, if an insider is selling after holding their shares at a like $2 average from 10 years ago, and some institution wants to come in who wants to buy those shares at $80, if you're an insider, that's a deal of a lifetime. You give up those shares and you take your profits because of all the hard work you did. B, if you're an institution, you've come to the realization that, hey, at $80, we think it's a fair price if we think it's going to be $150 one day. And, you know, institutions are not meant to get 1,000x return. They're meant to hopefully get a 20 to 30% return, and they're happy. The insiders, the people that have been working at the company for the past 20 years, they would like a little bit more than 20, 30% because they've basically given up their life to the company. And that's the dynamic we have in the public markets versus the private markets with VCs and insiders. And so if people are ready in terms of hedge fund managers, money managers to take those shares off the table from people that are willing to sell it at a price that they agree on, then boom, there you go. That is why there is liquidity for Palantir. The community just has to relax. It's okay for people to say it's overvalued. Getting butthurt about it is very Tesla boomer mama-ish. Yeah, I mean, look, I think also the people that I know in the community, Arnie, Amir, Matt, like a lot of the OGs, everyone's acknowledged that it's expensive. A lot of people will probably say at $80, hey, it's a bit overvalued here at this point. Like it's getting up there. I just think the problem with the bears is that they're like, it has to come back down to 30. Like there's no rational discussion with them. They're just like, it's the biggest bubble in the world. It has to come down. It's like, well, what if it doesn't have to, right? What if it could take a decline? Sure. Bitcoin right here at 94,000, just holding above 94. But does it have to collapse 50, 60%? And that's when they're like, yeah, it has to. And we're like, all right, so we just disagree at this point because I don't think it has to. And I think they're purely using numbers to justify it versus a little bit more of the qualitative side around the story. Rumble, by the way, on Friday was up 50%. Tether is investing $775 million in them, the Tether Foundation. So Rumble went up 50% on Friday. But Bitcoin right here, just below 94 at 93,995 right now. All right, so here's the question for the chat. Let's do a poll. I want to see what you guys think in regards to Palantir. But to recap, we had the Alex Karp message, we had the Elon following Palantir, we have the FT article about Palantir and Anduril working with SpaceX and OpenAI to bid for contracts. We had Bill Ackman mentioning Palantir, and then we had David Sachs mentioning Palantir today as well. So it was a busy morning for Palantir in regards to everything happening. Here's the poll. Simple poll. Are you nervous or excited for Palantir at 80? Excited means that, you know, you think the party should continue and we should go much higher from here. Nervous is you think this valuation is becoming fundamentally unsustainable and that we should have a correction or at least a pullback sometime soon. Tomorrow's going to be really important because we held 80, we got to 82 in the pre-markets not last week, 2 weeks ago. And then as soon as the 9:30 happened, the markets tanked and Palantir went back all the way to like 70 at one point. So we haven't ever been able to actually hold 80 during market hours, which we did on Friday. And I think there was 300 million shares traded, average is 80 million shares. So we have more than 3x the volume. I think those were NASDAQ flows coming in, and that's what kind of pumped it up at the end of the day. So now we got to see if people sell it off on Monday. And if they don't, and we hold 80, then maybe we are in the 80s for Palantir. Maybe that is what's going to happen. Stocks Vision Hub, thank you for the $5 super chat. Hey, do you think Palantir can hit 100 by the end of January? I have no idea. I have been wrong on finding price direction for Palantir. Maybe it hits 100, maybe it doesn't. At this point, I have no clue. So I don't even think I can make a prediction on it. I do think that, you know, Palantir will hit 100 at one point, and I think there's a shot it could happen in 2025. But there's a good shot, but I don't know if it's gonna happen by the end of January. David, thank you for the $14 super chat. Do you have any thoughts on my 3 favorite small cap moonshot stocks? Rocket Lab, IONQ, KULR. I don't know about Kohler. I don't know enough about them. IONQ, haven't done enough research, but they are one of the more exciting quantum names that I've seen just from like reading a little bit. Rocket Lab, I think, is great. I think Rocket Lab, dude, if SpaceX is at 350 billion, I think Rocket Lab is going to go to at least 50 billion over the next few years. So that's like a 5x from these levels. So I like Rocket Lab, and I'm probably going to be buying more in 2025. But the other ones don't know too much about those names. Tess says it will be in increments of 5 now, and it will zoom to each next one. 85 is next. Well, see, here's the one thing, and this is where, you know, some people do have a point in regards to the valuation. Every dollar that Palantir goes up is 2.2 billion added to the market cap. And I do think we have to be a little weary of just being like, it's going to 100, because going to 100 means it's at 80 right now. That's $20 to 100. 20 times 2 billion is 4 billion, 40 billion. So we're adding 40 billion to the market cap. Now, again, this is where I do think this is where we have to be a little level-headed here and say, all right, so we're going to add 40 billion to the market cap. Why? Like, why, right? Like, what would be the reason outside of earnings? Which, if we're not talking about earnings, we're talking about the end of January. Why would we add 40 billion to the market cap? And if there's no real fundamental reason other than, well, people just want to buy, I'm like, okay, so that's a little weird, right? Because we've already added a ton of money in the market cap, over basically 83 billion, right? From 100 to 183 in the past 2 months. And there hasn't been anything really that different outside of NASDAQ inclusion, which is good. And that's like, but that's more of a structural thing, not like a sort of fundamental thing about the company itself. To screw our covered calls, bro. That's why. Yeah, that is also why. So that's one thing I do think we need to be worried about is like at some level, if we're just adding money to the company in terms of valuation with no, like a long-term investor shouldn't want that to happen, is my point. A long-term investor should not want to add hundreds of billions of dollars to the market cap with no change, because, you know, it just can't go like that forever. And if you do that and there's no actual change in the business, that can get pretty aggressive, and that can get pretty aggressive to the downside as well. And that's pretty much what happened in Tesla in 2021, right? When Tesla went up for no reason to like that $1 trillion level, it was not justified at that point. It came crashing back down. So I think if we get to 100 by the end of January, that would be pure FOMO, in my opinion, unless they come out with some contract or something. But even then, guys, any contract they come up with, like the $400 million Army Vantage contract, that has to be priced in. Like, again, we're trading at elevated multiples, and I'm the one saying that the bears are complaining too much about the valuation, but still, the valuation's up there. Any contract we get should just be helping justify the valuation. It should not be expanding the valuation unless it's like a $10 billion contract, which we're not getting right now, right? So I still think that's important when we think about this in general. Doug says, amid market cap is just a made-up number. It doesn't represent all the money that is in the company's share price. That number is significantly lower than any market cap. Doug, I have no idea what that means. I have no idea what that means. My understanding of market cap is you have number of shares outstanding times a price, and that gives you the valuation of a company. That's like, I actually have no clue what that means. It doesn't represent all the money that is in the company. My point is, and I think a lot of you guys would agree as well, if we go to 100 or 120 out of nowhere and we just add all this money, that can get a little bit like, all right, hold on, what's going on here, right? Like, are people just toying with the stock, etc.? My retort to a lot of the bears that have had that same argument is, I think the institutions are coming in right now, and they've come in basically from $40 to $80, and all this new money we've added, basically 85 billion bucks, that's all institutional money. Some of it's retail, but a lot of it's institutional. And now Palantir has to actually execute, right? We cannot have, 22% growth and be at these levels. So, and I think Palantir will execute aggressively, and I think the multiples still will expand when we execute. But if we add another $40 to $50 billion by January off no news, that's going to be FOMO. And that is where people have to be just a little concerned that, hey, like, this is irrational that's happening. But if you've, been long Palantir for a while, I don't think that's a reason necessarily you have to sell. And that's another thing that's important to discuss. A lot of people, have been selling their entire positions, and everyone should take profits and do whatever they need to do on their timeline. But the logic has been this can't continue. And that's where I disagree. It's one thing to say, hey, we shouldn't go to 120 by the end of January because that would be $80 billion added to the company for no reason. And that's just probably not the healthiest thing to see. Versus, hey, if we go to 120 and maybe I take some profits, I'm not going to get rid of my entire position, because markets can be incredibly irrational. Stocks can be incredibly expensive for years. But in 10 years, if you think Palantir is worth more than it is today, even if it gets to 120, just based on the growth, the dynamics, all the fundamental analysis, everything that's going on with the government business, et cetera, then I don't think it makes sense to sell the position based on the idea that it can't go up higher, because obviously it can. We've seen it happen. Palantir is becoming a household name in the stock market. It's not up there yet with Tesla and Nvidia and Amazon, and for good reason. They've got to grow to be able to get there. But if it does get there, and you had shares at $10, $20, $30, even $40 at this point. I don't know if you let them go that easily. Joe says, I'm selling on January 1st, and I think a lot of people in hedge funds will as well. Well, I think in general, people will take profits on January 1st, but I don't know if people will get rid of their entire positions on January 1st. But I have been seeing some people start to say that they want to get rid of their entire position, which is fair. It's just, I don't know, dude. I don't know if this is a company that doesn't catch on to more and more momentum. If there was any presidential term for 4 years where Palantir would thrive, it's this one. And we haven't even begun, right? We are still, Trump's going to get sworn in a couple of weeks. So when that happens, I think we're going to start to really see how the market interprets Palantir. Along with it, they can accelerate growth. As Mark says right here, 40% growth next quarter. I don't think we get it next quarter, but I do think by 3Q of 2025, we're going to see a 4 on that growth handle. And if we do, not a lot of software companies can compound at these levels. And when you have the UBSs of the world basically saying that the valuation's hard to overcome, but we do believe it deserves a multiple, and they actually grow into 40, 50% growth, which still will make the valuation hard to analyze, but we'll just have so much more excitement because none of their competitors are doing what they're doing, and none of their competitors are growing above 35% at the most. I don't think there's any. Databricks is the only one that's growing at 60%, but Databricks is not public yet. When it actually goes public and you can sustain those growth rates, then you can grow as a private company. When you actually are a public company and you have to report SEC filings and you have to deal with the scrutiny of being a public company and you're growing 60%, that's another question. We haven't seen that happen. But outside of Databricks, which again doesn't really compete with Palantir in a lot of different areas, even though they are similar in different ways, there's no other companies that are growing as much as Palantir or even close to 40, 50%. And if Palantir gets there, I think that is going to be very exciting as well. Where is this price right now? Stock is at $80.51. How is Robinhood green, bro? Oh no, Robinhood's not green. Sorry, I'm reading wrong. Robinhood's down 1%. That makes more sense. Bitcoin's down. Bitcoin's recovering a little bit above 94, but Robinhood's down 37.85. Palantir is green. Robinhood's not getting tanked though. I thought it would get hit badly. I guess Bitcoin not having that much of an impact on it. Palantir 80.60. You got people coming in and they're buying in the 80s. People are coming in and buying in the 80s. And quite frankly, that's all that matters in regards to maintaining the justification and the levels that we're at right now. You guys are talking about Palantir stock split? Goodness gracious, dude. Could you imagine they split it 10 times right now and we get an $8 share price? Dude, so many people would buy in if it was $8. Palantir was below $10 today on a stock split. Oh my gosh, bro. People would not care about market cap valuation. They would just buy the crap out of it at $8. It would be like 2022. Drago says, I don't question big money. I just follow it. I agree. And big money has easily decided that Palantir is the company they want to be part of, at least over the past weeks. Chris says you're still on. Yeah, Chris, we only started 42 minutes ago. We do at least an hour, 30 minutes on the Sunday show, but it's been 40 minutes of talking Palantir because there's been a lot of news happening today on Palantir. All right, so those are my main thoughts. We'll move on to some of the other stuff in the market, and we'll talk more about this on Market Open tomorrow. But yeah, big day for Palantir, holding 80 right now in the overnight markets. Tomorrow is going to be the big test at 9:30 to see what happens. Let me check the results of the poll. 74% excited, 26% nervous. So obviously, most people are thinking that the excitement they have around Palantir's momentum outweighs their nervousness, which is fair. And look, this is the reason I think this poll makes sense. And most people shouldn't be that nervous is because a lot of you guys have an average that is way below 80, right? And this is, again, I've said this every single time, but I think it's the facts about the Palantir community. The more people realize how valuable Palantir is, if it were to go down 50% from here at 40, and everyone is still in the green, let's just say there's a 50% collapse on Palantir for some reason. It's at $40, and everyone's still in the money. Most averages are 20 or below, 25 or below, maybe 30 or below. I think everyone would buy the hell out of the dip. I know I would, right? That's another thing about Palantir that we've talked about a lot. Every $10 down, if it does go down, there's going to be people, buyers, UBS, that steps in and says, hey, this is getting attractive now. This is a buy. It's not at 60 times price of sales anymore. Now it's at 42 times price of sales. This gets more attractive, yada, yada. So I think the dip buyers would be there. Number two, I think most people recognize that, wait a second, stocks go up and down, But if this is a generational company and it's giving us a nice 50% pullback right here, which again, I don't think is going to happen. But if that does happen, most longs have such conviction on Palantir. It reminds me exactly of what happened in May of 2024 when we went from 26 to 20. I bought that dip easily. I bought it for my dad. I bought it for my sister. I bought it for myself. I was like, that's an easy dip to buy because I just saw a great earnings and the stock's down 25%. Like that's simple. If that happens again, and I don't know if we get 40, maybe we get 60 or something. If that does happen, I think people will be buying. And so if people will be buying on those dips and people aren't really going to be that upset that it dips, I mean, I don't think a lot of bulls are going to be angry if it gets back to 60. You're like, all right, I have an opportunity to buy some more shares. Unless you literally bought at $79, which some people have. And I can't, if you did, you did. It is what it is. But I would say 99.9% of people, quite frankly, in the retail community, they have averages that are still like way lower. They're up 2-3x on Palantir right now. So if we take a 20, 30, 40% pullback, that's just an opportunity, especially as a lot of those bulls have stuck through it and maintained their conviction on the long-term potential of Palantir. Justbo says, I bought at 18 and sold at 41. Yeah, and look, I wouldn't feel too bad, dude. A lot of people did that as well. I think a lot of people, when they saw a 2x on Palantir, again, management basically told us they didn't expect $70 till 2029 based on their SEC filings around employee stock option grants. So the fact that we're at $80 in 2024, 5 years ahead of schedule, that is why we've seen all the insider selling by management. But that's also why the narrative has changed and retail could not hold up a $200 billion company. Retail, I don't think, has $200 billion to keep Palantir where it is right now. It's just not possible. Palantir is not that well of a known name to get everyone in the world to pile their money together like it does for Tesla to hold it up at those extreme levels. It has to be institutional. And now that it's about 55% institutional, we know that big money came in and they bought those shares at 40. And they were happy to buy it as they saw the potential Palantir going much higher. So that's what we got right now in the context of Palantir. We'll move on to some other news. $80.80 right now. We will see in the market at 9:30 tomorrow in the pre-markets kind of how that trajectory can play out. But currently green right now on the overnight markets. All right, let's see some other stuff that's going on overnight, and then we'll keep going from there. Tesla is still green, 429. So we're up 1.95% on Tesla. IWM's up 223, S&P 592, Dow Jones 429, NVIDIA 137. Where's MSTR based on Bitcoin? MSTR is at 357. That's down about 1.83%. Bitcoin is down. Coinbase as well. Coinbase at 256, or sorry, Apple's at 256. That's up 0.8%, 0.68%. Coinbase is down 1.73%, 273. They're not bad. I mean, the Bitcoin proxies are not getting hit that badly based on Bitcoin being below 95, but they are down. Marathon is up 1.95%, actually. Oh, wow. Pending corporate action, Marathon is unable to trade in some sessions. So this might not be an accurate price on Marathon. It looks like they have some filings they have to put out, and then they're able to be traded. But pretty much all the other Bitcoin proxies are down a little bit. I mean, look at Mara. Yeah, Chris, I don't know. Does anyone know what's the corporate action that's happening with Mara? That is weird. Yeah, corporate action. No one knows why it's staying here, but there you go. Unable to trade in some sessions based on that being built out. Maybe it's another convertible note, but I don't think that stops them from trading. That has to be something different that's happening right there for Marathon to not be trading at these levels. TSM, let me check TSM real quick, and then we'll get into some macro. TSM right here, that's up 0.65%, 198.5. TSM's up. Google, at the money offering. Yeah, but that doesn't stop a stock from trading. That's just something they do in the background. So that is weird. Google is 194.72. Maybe MicroStrategy is buying them. Dude, imagine, bro. MicroStrategy would inherit like 30 more thousand Bitcoin or something. Oh, okay. So let's talk about Bitcoin for a little bit. It looks like Saylor, folks, is going to buy some more Bitcoin tomorrow, but he might do it in a way that pisses people off. So here he says the orange dots on Saylor Trackle are motivational. Every time he tweets that, the dots on SaylorTracker.com are exciting or motivational or whatever, we tend to get a purchase the next day. The thing is, he's not going to be doing a convertible note tomorrow. Maybe he does. What he's been doing, Saylor, has been selling shares on the open market of MicroStrategy stock to raise capital to buy Bitcoin. And that is diluting the crap out of MicroStrategy shareholders, which is really pissing off a lot of MSTR bulls that I've spoken to. But that's not like that, that's just not the best the best thing for the actual ownership you have in the company. So look, I think Saylor's doing this because he thinks below 100,000 is a dip to buy. I mean, Saylor did say by New Year's Eve we'd be well over 100,000. We've got about 9 days left until New Year's Eve. We are not trending in the direction of being well over 100,000. And, we're not far away at 94, but we were at 108 and we're back to 94. So wild swings in regards to Bitcoin. I don't really know why Bitcoin is falling either. If anyone has any theories, let me know in the chat. But why do you think Bitcoin fell from 108 to 95? Are people just waking up and they're taking their profits? I guess the Fed, thing happened on Wednesday. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But I think most people have, relatively recovered from that. Most stocks recovered from that. It wasn't that big of a reason to sell off. We're getting 2 cuts instead of 3. Boo-hoo, right? I don't know if that should take Bitcoin down 20%, right? So I don't know, but also it could be Sunday, low volume, but a lot of people are waking up and they are taking some profits on Bitcoin, and that's why we're seeing this price get hit. Also, freaking the ETFs, dude, they sold off almost $700 million of Bitcoin last week. It was the first time they sold off $700 million of Bitcoin in over 3 weeks. Every week they've been averaging 300 million of inflows. On Thursday, they sold off 700 million, that's a lot, bro. I mean, that is a big switch in the ETF narrative as well. And then so on Thursday, they sold off 671 million. On Friday, they sold off another 277 million. So the ETFs definitely had some outflows, and that hurt Bitcoin as well. I mean, that's almost $1 billion of Bitcoin getting sold off in 2 days from the ETF. So that's not helping. But I think there's more to why it's coming down a little bit right here. But that's what we got on Bitcoin. Someone says, wait, you do Sunday nights? Yes, we do Sunday nights. We've been doing it for 2 months now, 3 months, Sunday nights. I think we started in September. We missed last week and people got upset, but we are back Sunday on the Futures Show. Okay, so let's talk about what happened last week. Let's talk about what happened in the equity markets last week. So to refresh everyone who probably doesn't need a refresher, because if you were following markets, it was a pretty aggressive week. J-Pal said we're going to do 2 cuts instead of 3. And by saying we were going to do 2 cuts instead of 3, that triggered the markets to be very, very upset. And the markets were very scared in regards to what would the outlook look like for 2025. Now, when he said that, we also had a variety of cascading effects take place, kind of like dominoes falling one after the other. And that really hurt the equity markets. Number one, we had quad witching on Friday. So you had a lot of options expiring, $6.5 trillion worth of options expiring. So that had some volatility. Number two, you had PCE come in better than expected, which was good for the markets, but that created even more volatility because you had unemployment data, initial jobs claims come in lower than expected, which was good, but you also had PCE beat expectations, which was also good. So you had 2 things that kind of, the market had to tackle with, okay, we just sold off stocks, but then this inflation data looks like it's coming down. Should we be that upset at stocks if inflation is coming down? So that's one thing that happened. That's another thing that happened last week. On top of that, you had the 10-year that had an aggressive move to the upside. The 10-year ended on Friday a bit lower. Actually, no, it was higher. Well, it's higher right now, but 4.532. So I think we got to 4.48 on the lows, but we were almost hitting 4.6 last week. And this 10-year actually pushed mortgage rates back up to 7%, which was not exciting because mortgage rates, need to come down in order for inflation to come down and for the housing market to kind of resolve itself. Shelter is still 40% of CPI. So until shelter comes down, which it is coming down, but it has to come down significantly for the Fed to see the effects of CPI going lower from that 2.7% range. You need this 10-year to cooperate. And right now the 10-year is not cooperating. So you had a Fed meeting, you had 2 cuts instead of 3, you had PCE come in better than expected, you had that 10-year be stubborn, you had new housing starts go bad with mortgage rates back above 7%. You just had a lot of stuff happening, quad witching, all of this. But by Friday, pretty much every stock recovered from their intraday low, and that intraday low was set at 4 a.m. on the pre-markets of Friday. So Palantir was $70.27, rebounded to 79, now at 80. Hood was 34, went to 38. Tesla 410 to 435. Nvidia 126 to 133, and on and on and on. I mean, we saw almost every stock put in a bottom at about 4 to 5 a.m. on Friday in the pre-markets. And then throughout the rest of the day, we had a crazy rally. I mean, if anyone bought anything at 4 a.m. outside of Novo Nordisk, which had some issues with the FDA, you made money. I mean, you really could have bought literally anything. The Qs, the SPY, Coinbase, Grab, Amazon, Apple, Square, Google, NVIDIA, Tesla, Hood, Palantir. It really didn't matter. So that level of recovery inside of the day on Friday, just off PCE news, led me to believe, and I think a lot of people agree with this as well, this whole sell-off on Wednesday when Jay Powell spoke was incredibly algorithmic. It wasn't real. It was just like the market was looking for a pullback. Jay Powell said something that pissed off the markets, even though it's not like he's hiking. It's just we're getting 2 cuts instead of 3. He also said, by the way, none of this actually determines how many cuts are going to happen in 2025. We're going to need to see on the data. So like if we have good data next year, we might get way more than 3 cuts. No one really knows. So it wasn't a rational reason to just be like, yep, we got to sell off stocks. But nonetheless, that's how markets acted. And that created some pretty exciting opportunities for Bitcoin. Getting Robinhood at 34, we haven't seen that in weeks. Now, if Bitcoin keeps tanking, maybe that could happen again. But if that doesn't happen, I don't want to say it was a legit August 5th opportunity, but it definitely feels like a mini version of August 5th that had some amazing prices randomly that we had in August. Maybe that's the same right before the Santa Claus rally in December that we got to have for those prices. You haven't checked Farcoin a minute? Okay, so actually nature is healing. And my anger with Farcoin last week, while Tesla was down 11%, but Farcoin was up 10%, that has flipped, folks. Farcoin is down from $1.20 to 70 cents. So we got a nice little reduction in Farcoin. If you're long this coin, I don't mean to be bearish, but this thing does not deserve to be worth $709 million, in my opinion. Like, I just think this is froth. I think this is just froth, and I don't like it. I don't like seeing froth. I just like, as a market participant, I'd rather have Tesla have that $700 million and get Tesla a couple more bucks per share, even though that might make Tesla extended, versus Fartcoin having that money. I just don't think it deserves it. So it was really weird to see Fartcoin at $1.20 and Tesla tanking almost below 400 last week. That has shifted, and markets woke up and they're like, why do we own this? Yeah, we probably shouldn't own this. Now, granted, this is not that bullish for Bitcoin, because when there's one argument that the alts are falling, therefore people are going to take their money out of the alts and dump it into Bitcoin. That could be one case. The other case could be the entire crypto market is having a little bit of a correction right here. And when you see something like Fartcoin go from $1.20 to 70 cents in less than 24 hours, that means people are selling off their crypto, including Bitcoin. So that could also be one of the things that is currently happening right now in the context of the crypto markets. Just Paul says picked up some Amazon at 7 a.m. around 2:14 on Friday. See, like, that's incredible. Like, if you were up at that moment and you had some extra cash, that was the best time in the past, basically since Trump got elected, to buy stocks. I mean, if you bought the day after, it still wasn't good. But like, let's call it in the past 3 weeks. If you were up at 7 a.m. on Friday, look at Amazon, ended at 226, got it at 214. Not bad. Not bad at all in terms of getting some of these dips. Speaking of Amazon, can we talk about the level of hate Jeff Bezos got today? Jeff Bezos, first of all, the legacy media, they're dead. No one can trust them. No one wants to trust them. They're completely uncredible. And the focus from mainstream media is coming to independent content creators. But someone at the New York Post had an anonymous source that reported that, what's his name? I see they deleted it because obviously it was fake. That Bezos was spending $600 million on his wedding. And Bezos said, furthermore, this whole thing is completely false. None of this is happening. The old adage, don't believe everything you read, is even more true today than it has ever been. Now lies can get all the way around the world before the truth can get its pants on. So be careful out there, folks, and don't be gullible. It will be interesting to see if all the outlets that covered and re-reported on this issue, which were a bunch of them, will they issue a correction when it comes out and when it comes and goes and doesn't happen, because Bezos is not spending $600 million on his wedding. 81.75 on Palantir. Okay, cool. We got some Palantir action. There you go. 81.59. Again, guys, it's overnight. Really, what matters is pre-markets. 7 a.m. is what's really going to matter. This is nice to see, and we're holding 80, but 7 a.m. is what you really want to look at, because that's when all the brokerages wake up. And if they don't collectively sell off Palantir, which the cool thing about Robinhood, every time that, at least it's been pretty accurate for me, at least on Palantir, that when Palantir's up in the overnight markets, it tends to be up in the pre-markets. Even if it's not up as much, it tends to be higher. So I don't think we get the sell-off below 80. 930, we're going to see if we actually are able to hold on to 80. But we're up 1.2% right now. And it looks like people are coming in. Volume, how much is volume? Volume went from 25,000 shares to 131,000. That's good. 4x of volume. We got some decent volume coming in. That's not horrible volume. It's still pretty low, but it's not horrible. And you got people buying Palantir at this $81 range. Yeah, 81.50 currently right now, 1.18%. We'll keep an eye on that. We'll see how that goes. But look, I think pre-market's going to be up for Palantir. Then 9:30, that's going to be the biggest question. Can we hold at 9:30? And if we can, I mean, also, I'm just saying, this Doge news that came out, Elon following Palantir, the FT article. I mean, there's a world in which the market could look at that and be like, oh, the government business is going to keep growing. Let's buy Palantir. And a bunch of hedge funds, money managers towards the end of the year just dump some more money in Palantir, say, you know what, we'll think about it next year, but we don't want to take the risk of, them getting even more government deals and us not being a part of it based on that new Financial Times article that came out. So that could be an argument. Going back to Bezos, in the context of that 600 million, my take on this is very simple. I think that it is not a big deal for someone to spend $600 million on their wedding. And it's kind of surprising to me that everyone was freaking out about him spending $600 million for his wedding. First of all, it's his money. Okay. Like who are we to stop Bezos from spending? If we had if I had $600 million to spend on a wedding, I probably wouldn't. But if my wife wanted a $600 million wedding and I had the money to throw, yeah, I would do a $600 million wedding and I wouldn't care. Right. So like, I don't have that money, but if I did, I don't think anyone should be able to criticize you for it. I wrote this right here under Bill Ackman's post. Number two, someone's 600 million can be another person's 600,000. And this is the problem where a lot of people can't really come up with a bright line. If you say 600 million is too much, is a million too much? Is 2 million too much? Is 600,000 too much? Like there's no bright line. And any bright line someone comes up with is going to be arbitrary and subjective, which to me is going to be, as a result, quite frankly, authoritarian, because you're inputting some random number around how much people should be able to spend on a wedding. And it's like that's not what we do. Like, at least not in America. We have, like, we respect freedoms and people can spend as much as they want on a wedding. Second of all, if he did spend 600 million, it would be contributing to thousands of employees and small businesses. Literally thousands of employees and small businesses, because you would need tons of companies to come in to make that wedding become a thing, which means, if you want to talk about communism, redistribution of wealth, that would be a pretty epic redistribution of his $600 million into a local economy. So I think a lot of the people that were like, he can't spend $600 million, their arguments are tautological. They're circular. They don't have any substantial, meaningful framework to justify their analysis other than rich people are bad. And I was just quite shocked by seeing people so upset that he might spend 600 million. Like, if he does, okay, so what? The Ambanis in India, I don't know how much they spent. I don't know what's the reported number, but it is a lot of money. Like, a lot of money. If you guys remember, they took the headlines for like 2 months when they had their son get married back in, I think it was March or April. Dude, they paid for Kim Kardashian to be there. I think they paid Justin Bieber $10 million alone to perform for like 20 minutes. I mean, like, there's a lot of wealth that was centralized in India, and a lot of people in India that work basic jobs got paid off that wedding because that wedding was such a big event. So to me, I thought it was good. B, if they want to spend 600 million, let them spend 600 million. Like, we can't get to the point where we're like upset at people for spending their money. It's their money. Like, imagine one of you guys wants to throw a wedding. Imagine your net worth is 10 million and you want to spend $1 million on your wedding because you've been dreaming of having the most lavish wedding ever. And you worked hard for your money. You want to spend 10% of your net worth on your wedding. And the government comes in and they're like, yeah, you're not allowed to spend $1 million on your wedding. Or you get criticized for everyone about spending $1 million. Like, it would be ridiculous, bro. It's like, you should be able to spend whatever the hell you want to spend on your wedding. It's your wedding. It's your money. So I thought that was weird today, but, he's not spending 600 million. If he was, it would be kind of wild, but I don't think it would be horrible. I mean, it's his decision. Bro, I just want to get invited to the $600 million wedding. That goodie bag is going to be lit. Yes. I would love to be at that wedding as well. Pocket watching, I hate it. Yeah, dude. We got too many pocket watchers. We got too many people that get upset. Like, this is the problem. People get upset that he has 600 million. It's like, well, why don't you go try to make 600 million versus putting all that energy to get upset? Especially when 600 million is literally pocket change for Mr. Jeff Bezos. It's better than them hoarding it in cash. That is also true. It's better than them hoarding it in cash. So that's what we had with Amazon. The way we got to that comment is someone bought Amazon at 214. But the point is, look, in the pre-markets on Friday, there was a ton of downside action, and that was one of the best times to buy. Now, here's the question. Let's do another poll right here. Here's the question. Do we think that the lows have been put in for 2024? For 2024. Are the lows in for 2024? Meaning, Robinhood at $34 on Friday at 4 a.m. That's the low. Palantir at $70.27 on Friday at 5 a.m. That's the low. Do you think the lows are put in? Because if you don't think the lows are put in, the next 10 days are going to be pretty aggressive in terms of back and forth action with stocks. But if you think the lows are in, then we might end up going higher. We might begin the process of starting to go higher. Ambani spent 900 million. Really? He spent that much? How much did Ambani spend on the wedding? Dude, if he spent $1 billion, everyone's got to relax. No, it's wow. The Ambani wedding is spent to be 600 million. That's what Google's saying. Google's saying they spent $600 million. Ironically, that's the same amount based. Well, there you go. You know, if Ambani can spend 600 million, then so can Bezos. We need to clarify what Trump is going to do with tariffs. I agree. Austin says, are people booking in profits with January? That is going to be the big question. Okay, 59% of you said we put in lows for 2024. 41% say no. So about 60-40. Lows are in, 40% say no. I am struggling to fully say the lows are in. My gut tells me yes. My gut tells me the algorithmic quad witching induced J Powell presser sell-off we had last week gave us some pretty amazing discounts, and I don't think we get back to those levels barring anything really wild happening. And Bitcoin going down is not a trigger for that. Some of the Bitcoin proxies might get hit, but in terms of the broad market, like everything was down on Wednesday. Everything. By 3:45, everything was down at least on average, I would say 5%. And then we got a recovery 15 minutes later to be down about 3%. But most things were down. I don't know if that happens again, the same way it happened this week. I think it would be kind of tough to see that wide of a sell-off in unison happen without J Powell saying something. And I don't think J Powell's talking next week. So I think we should be okay. But then again, anything could happen. We got, 5 days left. I do think the market, for us to get that big of a sell-off again into the last week of the year after we just recovered, after like a pretty aggressive volatile sell-off that was kind of backed by no real logic, but still we saw the sell-off happen. I think it would mean a lot of money managers, hedge fund managers, etc., would have to get like super emotional on the last 5 days of 2024 instead of just like letting it play out. If no one sells, everything stays afloat, right? They can get their end of year returns to show their clients, get their bonuses, yada, yada. Like everyone wants the rest of the year to just end out nicely. S&P 500 for the year is at 25%. If we close at 25%, I think a lot of people would be happy. And I think there's a chance we can close to 30% and just get back to where we were before the Wednesday sell-off. So I don't know. It would really, really be weird if we have another new low get put in on the last couple trading days of the year. But this week is going to determine kind of what happens, especially because not every day is trading as well. So we're only going to have 3 days. One of those is a half day. And we'll have to see how the market interprets it. Poll shows too much greed, indicating that we should be fearful that Palantir hasn't reached its lows. Well, I don't know if that's the case about Palantir. I mean, I think about for the broader market, the fear and greed index still is in fear. We are not back to greed yet. We were in extreme fear. Now we're just touching into fear. And I think this actually makes sense because, we were like kind of in greed when we were at 6,009 on the S&P. Now we're at 5,900. That is a decent decline in a market where earnings are still strong. Obviously, outliers like Palantir continue to become more expensive as they gain more momentum, but Palantir is not the judge for the broader fear and greed index of the market. And so, look, historically, if you just bought during extreme fear and sold a bit in greed and extreme greed, this has been a very simple market indicator, and following it has worked out pretty nicely. If we're still in fear, then I think we have some more room for upside going into the end of the year. G Mazda, thank you for the $5 super chat. Amid is Palantir the greatest growth stock pick of all time? If Palantir ends up becoming the greatest growth stock pick, I think it's definitely up there if we're making a list. I mean, from $6 to 80 on the lows. Like if you actually stepped into the lows, I mean, and you stumbled upon Palantir, I mean, it's like talk about a name, right? So I think it needs another 10 years to figure out if we think it's the greatest growth stock of all time. Obviously, NVIDIA's up there, Tesla's up there, right? And that's going to be the big question for Palantir. Like NVIDIA TAMs are just so gigantic. With GPUs and the auto market, full self-driving, robotics, like their TAMs are gigantic. We can legitimately see, I can see Tesla becoming a $20 billion company one day just off robotics. So can Palantir get to that? I don't know if they get to 20 trillion. But I still think they have a shot to get to 1 trillion. And I think a couple of years ago, it was kind of, it was kind of taboo to say Palantir could be a trillion. I don't think it's that taboo anymore. It's 20% there, 200 billion, right? Or 20% of the way there. So I think in the next 10 years we will know. But if you got in at those $8, $6 lows and you just discovered Palantir, it has been an incredible, incredible ride, an incredible journey as well. Let's see what Tom Lee had to say. So Tom Lee sent out a note today to his clients, with anyone who just like subscribes to his newsletter. And here's what Mr. Tom Lee said. The declines last week were driven by the conclusion of the Federal Reserve's meeting Wednesday. As a widely expected, the central bank cut the benchmark interest rates by a quarter percentage point despite a pickup in inflation. What spooked the markets, however, penciled in just 2 rate cuts next year after previously indicating 4, suggesting that the era of ultra-low rates had taken longer to arrive than many had expected. Tom Lee said the prospect of fewer rate cuts next year doesn't bother him because in his view, the Fed is still showing signs of dovishness. During the press conference after the meeting, Fed Chair Jerome Powell noted that inflation has once again underperformed relative to expectations, but Powell himself also acknowledged that the labor market pressures were not to blame, and as Lee and his team have previously noted, the 2 biggest reasons for core inflation underperformance have been shelter and auto insurance. Tom Lee said, we know improvements to shelter inflation are a matter of time due to the lags of market prices impacting CPI. That's actually what Chris talked about on Friday as well. And auto insurance is already cooling from elevated levels and does not require further Fed intervention. So if shelter comes down and auto insurance comes down, this is why Chris was saying we might have 5 cuts next year instead of 2, because if those are the lagging indicators that the Fed is looking for to officially come down, and we get that in the first 5 months of next year, by April, we might start seeing the Fed get a lot more dovish on the idea that, hey, the labor market needs to sustain itself, which means we need to keep cutting rates. That's the only reason they cut rates this time. And inflation is actually falling off a cliff, so we should be comfortable cutting it at these levels. So Tom Lee's still bullish, and he was right. He said to back up the truck and buy the dip as soon as this whole collapse started happening on Wednesday. And I mean, he was right. This like if you bought the dip, you did well. So you did have the Tom Lees and the Dan Ives of the world say that, look, this is still going to be pretty exciting. Dan Ives has said that we're probably going to be in a bull market for the next 2 to 3 years just based on tech. I think Tom Lee agrees that we're going to be in a bull market based on the macro fundamentals, even though Lee's price target is not that aggressive. I mean, it's at 6,500 next year, 6,600. These are the actual price targets for next year from all firms put together. Lee's not calling for 7,000. He's calling to get to 7,000 and then for it to come back down. Oppenheimer's at 7,000, Wells Fargo's at 7,000, Deutsche Bank's at 7,000, Yardeni's at 7,000, and then you got a bunch of these guys getting back into the 6,500s. The average price target is around 10 to 11% up from these levels, basically at 65, 6,600 currently right now. You're lagging a bit amid. Mics keep cutting off. Okay, let's switch the mic. This thing has been so annoying this entire year, or this entire weekend. Let's see now. Should be good now. No more lag. Okay, should be good. It should be good now. Hey guys, I don't know, dude. I feel like it's StreamYard. I feel like it's my mic. It's some of you guys it sucks. For some of you guys it doesn't suck. It is so annoying, bro. It's just been so annoying this whole weekend. And over the break, I'm gonna this entire setup, and we're gonna fix this stuff up. Okay, let me switch back to my regular mic. Okay, good. We're good. Yes, are we good? Bad. It's happening to Matt too. Yeah, so that means it's StreamYard. That means it's StreamYard. It was just like it wasn't Mike. Okay, we're good. Okay, we should be good. We should be good. Cool. Dude, StreamYard's got to get their shit together. I don't know if this company is growing so much and they can't handle all their servers or something, but this week has not been good for them. It's been like really bad. So, and I tried looking at other platforms. The other platforms, honestly, to give StreamYard some credit, they suck. I signed up for a couple other ones and like they're really bad, bro. Just even like switching screens like suck. The only perfect solution is OBS, but OBS has a host of other problems. OBS has a ridiculous delay. And on top of that, like if it's running local on your computer when you use OBS, so like the level of just like stress on your actual computer itself, given it's not going to the cloud, is intense. Bitcoin right there, 94.6, and that also makes it tough. And my MacBook Pro is a good MacBook, but it's not like the decked out MacBook Pro that can handle all of that. And so OBS, I don't think is necessarily the solution on this. Okay, so to wrap a bow on the macro stuff, last week we had a ton of crazy stuff happen. I think this week we're not going to have an entire decline the way we had last week unless something random happens. Most of these firms are saying 6,000 on the S&P. They think we can get there. The lowest one is BCA at 445, Citi at 6,500, UBS at 6,400, Stifel at 5,500. Everyone else pretty much thinks it's going to be a relatively strong year. And if that's the case, and markets can get through the last week of the year, then we should be ending out 2024, hopefully, in a pretty strong way. Even though it went through some ups and downs in 2024, but overall it wasn't too bad. Palantir 81.35, Robinhood 38.17. Robinhood is back to not being that red. It was at 37.85. Tesla's at 428. Nvidia's at 137. Snowflake's at 167. Is Soundhound trading after hours or in the overnight market? Soundhound is not overnight, but it's up 1% from Friday. SoFi's at 15.54. SoFi's up 1.24%. Affirm's up. Teladoc's up. Again, Palantir 81.27. So we're holding 81. Shopify 109. Amazon 226. Apple's at 256. Holy crap. Look at Apple. Apple's up. If Apple goes for 260, that means we're having a little bit of a market melt up in the end of the year. Snapchat's up a little bit. Alibaba's up. Yeah, pretty much. Well, Alibaba slowed down from last week. Alibaba got hit. China is not being cooperative. China is like just not working out, dude. No matter how much stimulus they're doing, it is not helping. It's just not. And in September, the idea was, hey, China might work out, but I mean, FXI is still up 30%, but a lot of people bought in at 37, 38. And then since then, it's just like not been able to hold on. And same thing for some of these other names as well. Patrick says, Amit, thanks for doing this tonight. Patrick, thank you for being here. Davis is about to drive to the airport. Davis, where are you going? Are you going on vacation already? Who's going on vacation in Christmas? Anyone going, leaving their local place and going on for vacation? So there's a lot of people sometimes just leave the cold and they go to like Mexico or something and they just have fun during Christmas break and they get out of the cold. But again, New York was cold, dude. I was in New York yesterday. It was freezing cold. SMCI is up 2.53%, but I'm not going on any vacation, but I do know a bunch of people that are just leaving. They're like, screw the cold. I'm out. Reno for Christmas, Davis. Huh. Not bad. Reno. Vacation to my bed, dude. I feel the same. I only get 2 days off though. I only get Christmas off because like the stock market's still open the whole week. Like my mom and my sister, they work at a public school. They're off like starting tomorrow. They're done. So until January 2nd, they don't have to worry about anything. We got a show tomorrow to do, bro. We got a market open, market close. We've got only Christmas Day is off and Christmas Eve is still. We're going to do the market open. So. Still got a ton of work to do this week, even as we end up the year. NY was freezing when I was there, start of the month. Dude, it's cold, bro. Like yesterday, I was like, and I'm used to the cold in New York, but yesterday was a different type of cold. I was like, this is freezing. This is a different level of freezing. Did you see the honey scam? I've heard about this. Something with honey and PayPal, right? I think there's something going on right there. Oh yeah, the scam was, if I'm not wrong, that Honey, which is a browser extension, if you connect it with your YouTube or something, they take a little bit more of a commission, and they're stealing money from creators. I think that was the scam. Now PayPal owns Honey, if I'm not wrong, so that's not the best look on PayPal. Is PayPal down right now? Let's see. I don't think it's that big of a deal, dude. Like I think that's just a headline. PayPal will get through that. Yeah, PayPal's up. PayPal's up about 0.5%. Nothing too crazy. That was a little bit of an issue or a headline that came out this morning. Michelle said, I went to Amsterdam last month, so no Christmas trip. We're in Texas, and my brother took his family snowboarding in Colorado. Dude, I haven't gone snowboarding since 2005. I went with my neighbors. I explicitly remember it. I was like 8 years old, but I have not done it since then, and I think I need to do that. That would be fun. And skiing. We gotta go like Karp. Are my mom and sister's teachers? No, they were teachers, but now they work at like, what do you call them? District supervisor. They're like district supervisors inside of their individual schools. So my mom taught for like 10 years and then she like became a supervisor. And my sister taught for like 6 years. And she's a supervisor now as well. It's not a big deal until any big name creators start making it viral. Yeah, that's fair. I don't really know any big name creators that use Honey though. I guess I don't know them. I'm sure there's plenty of them out there, but I've never used Honey. But I guess there are some people that might act like that. Dude, the honey scam is huge. All right, I guess we'll learn more about it. We'll see if it affects PayPal stock later as well. Amit, did you watch the movies after the top 10 debate with Steve on Friday? You two are comedy. I'm not even going to re-articulate my take from Friday. I still believe in it. I didn't tweet about it because, I was just like, I got enough backlash from you guys in the chat, so I'm not gonna continue going down that path. But no, I did not watch any movies. Dude, I just don't have. Dude, look, again, on the Lion King on Broadway, I barely got through staring at these lions dancing without like being distracted from 17 different things. At one point, I was almost sleeping, bro. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of boring. Like, it was good. It was a nice show. It was awesome, but it was just like, I don't know. Dude, my attention span is different. So I did not watch a movie this weekend, and I somehow got through Lion King on Saturday. Red Cat Holdings, anyone? So I'm probably going to have the CEO of Red Cat. He reached out to be on the show in the coming weeks. They're working with Palantir. They have a brand new partnership with Palantir. So his name is Jeff. We'll probably get Jeff on the show and talk to him and kind of see how their partnership is working with Palantir. But I don't own Red Cat. I don't know too much about them. I'm learning more about them, but we will probably have him on the show soon and kind of learn how they're working with Palantir. You've got ADHD, Amit. What's different? Yeah, but I've never been diagnosed with ADHD. Maybe it is ADHD. I've never publicly said I have ADHD because I don't know if I have ADHD. I guess I act like I have ADHD. I definitely have OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. I definitely have it, and I've been diagnosed with that. And my dad had that, and his grandpa had it. So I definitely have that. But I don't know if I have ADHD. But I don't know if it matters if I have it or not because I act like I have it. So have you watched Hamilton? No, I haven't seen Hamilton, but I heard that's like one of the best Broadways. I want to watch the Michael Jackson Broadway show. By the way, I was able to get my tickets pretty cheap. Like we got tickets for like $150 on Lion King, like 3 hours before we had to go. So it was pretty cheap tickets. The Minksoft Theater. Let me show you guys where I was at. The Minksoft Theater in New York. It can hold 1,700 people, and this theater is literally dedicated just to the Lion King. Like they do 2 shows of Lion King every day, 2 p.m. and 8 p.m. every day. There's a theater just for Lion King. Look at this. The entire theater is Lion King. I did not know Lion King had a dedicated theater on Broadway. That was pretty cool. It's actually pretty cool. So we were up there all the way in the back, but it was still a great show. And this was cool. Who knows, dude? What if one day we do the market open inside of inside of this? That would be kind of cool, right? Imagine opening the markets and everyone gets there at 5 a.m. and then I still show up late. I show up at like 8:50 and then we do the market open. That would be hilarious, bro. But this is cool. This is really cool. It was a dope spot. I just didn't know they were dedicated to the Lion King. So apparently that show makes a lot. I estimate that the average ticket, when you take the front seats and the back seats and you average them, probably like $350, maybe $300. So 300 times 1,700. That means they do $500,000 2 times a day. So they make $1 million in revenue a day just off Lion King if they sell out every show, which they probably sell more on Friday and the weekends than during the weekdays. That's not bad. Pretty big business. It's not horrible at all. I remember watching Wicked on Broadway back in 2010, 2011. We also saw Mary Poppins, but that was so boring I left at intermission. I actually saw Wicked in 2006. My school went there. So that was a great Broadway show. Wicked was awesome. I got to see it again. I haven't seen it since then. But when I actually I felt it was cool to go out and watch a live show. And next year I want to do more of that. Like I want to go out and watch more live shows, whether it's comedians or whether it's Broadway. Like it was actually kind of fun to like be in a stadium and like now Lion King wasn't the most exciting to me. It was cool, but it's something that actually has my attention. I would love to like be live and go out to more shows. Especially because I'm thinking of moving out. I'm probably going to live closer to the city, so it'll be easier to travel into these like theaters. It was kind of fun. Like, dude, I want to go watch an orchestra. Like I literally want to go watch people play violins, or like I want to watch this one guy play a piano for an hour. Like I want to see more stuff live. That's pretty cool. And it's weird because I've never been a concert guy. I've never been to a concert. Like I've never been to like a main concert at like Madison Square Garden or anything. But I want to start like doing more live events next year. It would be fun. David says, just look at yourself in the mirror if you want to see a comedian. Funny. Very funny. Yeah, those are great for Grindr dates. Look, man, Grindr closed a bit higher. It doesn't trade overnight. But we hit 1750 at one point, okay? Grinder is doing its thing. It's doing its thing. All right. V-Roch says, Amit, you are amazing. Plus, you are honest. I started watching relatively new, like a few months ago, but I would have to say you're the best channel. Thank you, V-Roch, for being here. We got a lot of new people on the channel, a lot of people discovering the content. Yeah, every day, dude. It's been really fun. It's been really fun. We have basically 5 days left of this year, and then we end it out, and then we get into 2025. It's been an incredibly strong year, exciting year. It's a fun year. The channel is growing. I think, I don't know. I think a lot of people are attracted to it too, because there's just not a lot of selling. There's not a lot of ads or stuff. It's just like, and part of the reason for that is I really love doing this, bro. I fucking love doing this. Like, this is like, I wake up every morning excited to do this. I was talking to someone who was at dinner, on my mom's birthday dinner the other day, and yesterday, and he was asking me like, what do you enjoy about it? And I was just like, it's just fun, bro. You wake up every morning and you have something to look forward to. And it's so dynamic because like, content creators have to come up with content, but when you're content creating around the news is the content, and then you have to be able to analyze it in real time. And that is a skill, and it's hard, and you're not always perfect at it, and you get things wrong, but there's always something happening, right? Even today, there's like 17 different things that happened this morning with Palantir from like 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. There's a lot to talk about, right? And so there's always news to discuss. It's a question of how you can dissect it, especially in the financial world. And that news actually matters, because they're like, oh my God, LeBron James had a triple-double. It's like, who cares, bro? Who cares? But like, if Palantir is up 2%, it's like, oh, a lot of people care because they're making money. So it's like, it's just such a different sport, ironically, than covering sports. And that's why it's exciting. That's why it's really, really, really exciting. So we're just going to keep doing it. And why are you always late? Dude, first of all, I'm not always late, okay? StreamYard has a small delay. And second of all, in the morning, right? Like, you're trying to get your stuff ready, get the lights on, all this stuff. You're like getting it. So like, sometimes, you can be a minute or two late. But dude, next year I'm going to start 5 minutes early every day. Everyone's going to be so shocked. You're starting at 8:40. Like, hold on, I'm not used to this. But yeah, I think 2025 we can make the show a lot better. We're going to make the show a lot better. We're going to upgrade the studio over the week. I'm going to change these microphones and stuff. Like, we got to just fix a lot of these things, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun going into 2025. You don't have the authenticity to cover sports. Yeah. Even though I was a sport head when I was growing up, but like, now I just don't care too much about sports. You need an intro for the lag at the start. That's actually not a horrible idea, bro. That's not a horrible idea, having an intro. Also, an intro is fun, so we'll see. We'll see if we can keep that up. Amidst fireside chats are the best. Appreciate you, Phil. Thank you for being here. Phil, I see in your profile picture, you're like flying on a helicopter or something. That's so cool. That's so dope. You guys can see it, right? Phil, I think that's your kids with your wife, but that's so cool. I don't know if you're a pilot or something, but that's awesome, bro. I would be too scared to fly a helicopter. I'd be like, dude, I don't think I could ever fly an airplane or a helicopter. I'd be scared, bro. You know the amount of dreams I've had about being in a plane and the plane flipping upside down? Like, it's kind of wild the amount of dreams I've had in my life about me being in a plane. Not the plane doesn't crash, but it flips upside down, and we're like flying while the plane is upside. I don't know why I keep having this dream, but it's happened at least 5 or 6 times over the past couple of years, and it always gives me a little jitters. And I've been on plenty of planes. I don't have a fear of flying or anything. I've been on various. There are some people that have a fear of flying, and they legit can't get on an airplane, and they have to take like a boat to like get to a different destination. Like, there's some people that just hate flying. I don't hate flying, but I've always had that weird fear or that weird dream in terms of how it is. I'm not going to go on a rant on my dreams. Goodness. Toto thinks I'm going to rant every time I go off a topic. Any info about the Bitstamp Robinhood acquisition? That'll close in H1 2025. I have no other information on that. I do think it's going to be very attractive for the valuation on Robinhood, because they're going to be bringing in about $5 billion of assets from Bitstamp in crypto all the way to Robinhood. And they only paid $200 million for the company. So they're going to be bringing in a decent amount of assets. Sorry, not 5 billion, 2.7 billion. It was 5 billion when Bitcoin was higher. But if you take a look at Arkham Intelligence, Bitcoin has 2.7 billion in assets. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Chainlink, yada, yada. All of that is going to Robinhood, and they only paid 200 million for it. So you have a nice 10x return on that 200 million for assets under custody. And that'll be pretty bullish for Robinhood. So I think that'll be good. That will be good. Rob, thank you for the $10 super chat. Amid, is Andrew going to IPO? And if so, will you be picking up some shares? So I'll probably buy the IPO. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. I think they're going to wait a couple of years before the IPO. Valuation right now on Anduril is $20 billion. The only problem I have with Anduril is that they don't have a commercial business. And that's what makes me not as excited about them. However, if you believe their government business is growing rapidly, and from all the contracts I'm seeing they're growing pretty rapidly, then they should be able to justify going public as a defense contractor alone, probably at 25, 30 billion. And if they have any resemblance of a future commercial business, I think that makes it exciting. But if they just stay in defense, I don't know. It's not the most, interesting IPO to me, because then they're just a defense contractor. That's probably better than Lockheed Martin in terms of growth, but like their margins are going to be shit because they're a defense contractor. And the software part of the business is not what they're selling. They're selling hardware. They're building shit. Margins suck when you're doing that. Margins are probably better if you're using software to help you, but margins still suck. So I don't know. I would want to see them have a commercial business to get really excited about the IPO. But I do think they will have a lot of excitement because people just want to support Anduril and their mission and all that stuff. So that's the one thing I'd be looking at for them. I think it'll happen in 2 years, though. I think it'll happen in 2 years. Amit, what are your thoughts on 2025 for DCAing? So, I mean, look, I want to sell my options in 2025 on Robinhood. I've been holding those for a long time, and that will bring a decent amount of liquidity for me when I sell those options. And then I don't know if I'm going to, I think I'm just going to sit on the cash for like a month or two. I really want to see Q4 earnings and Q1 guidance before I put money into the market. So probably won't deploy that cash until the end of February. At least that's my goal. I want to finish my grab position. I'm going to get to 10,000 shares on grab. So I'm going to finish that. And then I'm going to leave that money. And I think after earnings in the end of February, I should have a much better understanding of where I think the market's going. We'll have a January FOMC meeting. We'll have Trump, his first 60 days of being in office. I think if anyone's holding on to cash, I don't think it's the worst idea to hold on till the end of February. You have 2 months to see where the markets are going. If companies are still guiding for good Q1, like imagine NVIDIA guides for like $45 billion of revenue in Q1. That's bullish. That's really bullish. I mean, that AI thematic is intact. But what if NVIDIA guides for like 41 billion and they did 40 billion? It's good growth, but it's not phenomenal growth. So I think we're going to have to wait until Q4 earnings guiding into Q1 to see if we're getting good deals or not, along with the fact that the market is obviously extended in terms of price action, right? So is NVIDIA 136.90 going to go to 150 and that's going to be a great deal right now? Or is NVIDIA kind of going to be oscillating between 120 and 130 after their earnings? We don't know until we have their earnings. So my plan is to finish the grab position, sell the Robinhood options, hold on to the cash, and then wait until the end of February. And then I'll be having a decent amount of money that I can start wheeling with. And that is, another one of my goals in 2025. That's why we've focused so much on wheeling options this year and learning it. Is I want to start wheeling and I want to see, can I get, 3% a month? More likely, I'm going to be aiming for 2% the first couple months and be kind of more conservative, 1.5% to 2%. And then if I think I get a hang of it, hopefully we can go for 3 to 4% a month. But again, 3 to 4% is not average. I mean, I think first time wheelers should be like, if you're not super experienced like TJ, 1.5 to 2% is what you should aim for. And then just to be conservative, right? Because like, what if the market does pull back and then you get assigned on all your puts, right? Like it's not. So you got to be able to like weather the storm in the beginning, but once you get comfortable, I think then you can move on a little bit more. Oh, I'm definitely buying Google. I'm buying Google only because, quite frankly, the reason I'm buying Google is because I'm a YouTuber and I realize it is pretty stupid for me to not buy Google as a YouTuber. So I know Chris has his thesis on the cloud and all that stuff, and all that stuff is cool and it's great. It's whatever, but I'm buying Google because I'm investing in my, not employer, I guess, but like company that's providing me a platform to make content and be a new modern television channel, right? So I think that right there, it's getting pretty obvious. Also, trading at 18 times 2026 earnings is pretty attractive, but I'll be buying Google. Definitely will be buying Google. So Google and Grab will be the first buys of 2025. And then we'll just hold on to some cash and we'll see how the end of the year goes, or at least how the first 2 months of the 2025 goes. And that's it. That is it. Are you wheeling in a brokerage account or an IRA? Both. I'll be wheeling in both. I mean, look, I'm going to have to take the tax hit. It is what it is, but we're going to have to navigate it just like that. So taxes are taxes. We got to pay them, but I'll be doing it in both. And yeah, that's it. 2025, I have a lot of plans outside of the stock market around media. So he hasn't clapped yet. Let me do the clap because I can't clap after 20 minutes. I should clap now, so then 20 minutes later we can officially end it. I have a lot of plans around media, and there's something that might happen in January. I'm not going to say what it is, but it could happen. That could be really cool. Might happen, might not happen. I had a call today with someone following up on what could happen in January. Not going to say what it is, but it could be pretty cool if it happens. So 2025, I want to be able to take media to the next level and really bring it further. And my real goal in 2025 is to move out and to keep building the media business. That's it. And moving out, I've already, I'm getting very serious about it. I'm not just saying I want to move out. Like, I'm getting very serious about it. And we're looking at apartments, all this stuff. So I think by end of summer, realistically, I should be able to move out. And then I'm going to be on my own. And until then, I just want to keep building up the media enterprise the way it is. That is what we got to do. Doug says, no, bro, do not buy into Google. You're already super leveraged there. It's why oil companies shouldn't own oil stock in oil companies. Your job and your stock could tank. Yeah, but Google's cheap, dude. Google's cheap. Google's cheap. I don't if Google tanks, I'll buy more Google. I don't care. I've come to the conclusion ChatGPT is not killing Google. Okay, maybe Google takes longer to outperform the Mag 7s, the other Mag 7s, because their AI innovation is not as strong, or maybe there's some market they're losing in regards to search. But if ChatGPT is thinking of putting advertisements in their searches just to make money because they can't make any money, who's already doing that? Google. And so at some level, I think they're going to be playing the same game, and Google just has enough money to be able to withstand that. And I'm just uber bullish on YouTube, dude. The other reason I'm buying Google, to be honest, people don't trust mainstream media anymore. Have you guys seen the CNN and MSNBC ratings? They are disgusting, bro. They're bad. They are 1/10 of what they got a year ago. And so I think more people are coming to YouTube, and they're finding people like me that aren't trying to push this crazy agenda. I don't have pharmaceutical companies advertising. I don't have oil companies advertising, so I don't have to be bearish against Elon and Tesla. They're just tired of trusting the mainstream media. And I think that trend over the next 4 years is only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's going to lead people coming to YouTube. And if that's the case, I think Google's going to do well. So I'm literally just buying Google for YouTube. That's it. I also think it's one of the cheaper Mac 7, so that's why I'm comfortable buying it too. I want to buy Amazon and Tesla too, so I'm gonna probably sell puts on them going into the end of February. But Google and Grab, I think, are obvious buys. Also, I did the math wrong about Grab. Sam was on the show on Friday. I was saying every 60 cents of Grab was cash. Grab's a $5 stock. Every $1.50 is cash. Of course, I did the math wrong. It's 30% cash. 30% cash. I don't know how I got that math wrong, but actually I do know how I got that math wrong, because I'm the same guy who took out a calculator to do 10 plus 5 on a podcast 2 years ago. So I get how I got the math wrong. But dude, $1.50 of every $5 is cash. I just this is either I'm wrong or this is one of the most obvious things that that most people aren't talking about. And Grab should get closer to $6-7 towards the end of the year, conservatively. And I'm trying to be conservative here because they do have 4 billion shares outstanding, so it's going to take a lot to move it. But I mean, dude, you're paying $3.50 for the business that's now profitable, growing for cash flow, EBITDA margins, all that stuff. So I think it could be exciting. Myth does math like he does words. We have to come up with that compilation video of all the mispronunciations I have this year. We got to do that somehow, bro. We got to do that. That would be an epic video of just me trying to say something and it just doesn't work. I mean, what do you think about Accelera? I like it. I haven't bought into them. It's kind of a moonshot. I need to do a lot more research on Accelera, but Peter Thiel was invested originally. I mean, I think there's good potential, but if you're buying it, it's money you literally are happy to lose, and money that you're not looking at for another 10 years, because that's a biotech that could 20x or it could go to 0. So that's one that'll take time to ultimately play out. Bitcoin is at 93K. Is Bitcoin tanking? Yeah, Bitcoin's just below 94. I don't get it. I don't know why Bitcoin's getting hit towards the end of the year, but it's happening. Maybe this is just low volume on a Sunday, but Bitcoin definitely below that 108 level that we had. Bro got a standing desk and never use it. Okay, no, I use my standing desk every day. I just don't do it during the show. In fact, let me show you guys this video. So I haven't posted this video, but I did a video of me standing up and writing out my market close. Not my market close, my market summaries on Twitter that I do every night at like 9 p.m. I recorded myself standing up and typing it. I'm just gonna show you. Can I do that? Yeah, there you go. Okay. There's 40 minutes of me standing and typing this thing up. So I use my standing desk a lot, bro. Like most of the time where I'm working, I'm standing up. That's 40 minutes, bro, of me just being in the zone, typing this thing up. But when I'm doing a stream and you're talking and you're moving your hands and all this stuff, it's hard to stand for like 3 hours. But otherwise, I love the standing desk. I can't work if I'm not standing. Like when I'm typing, when I'm doing stuff, like I need to be standing. It's just when you're doing when you're streaming, it's hard to stay standing for that long. But I do enjoy it. I definitely enjoy the standing desk as well. He sits in front of that standing desk every day. People that watch and don't chat on YouTube are called lurkers. People are just people, shy. I don't know. Well, there's a lot of people like that. I mean, there's plenty of, streams that I watch sometimes and I don't participate in the chat, even though, if I'm in the stream, I'm usually in the chat. But if there's like big streamers or something, sometimes I'm not commenting. I don't know. Like the thing about YouTube is like if people want to interact in the chat, they have the ability to. But there's other people that like I would say there's only 20%, maybe 25% of you guys that watch that are in the comments or that are in the chat. Most of you guys just have it on in the background and you're just listening, right? And that's okay. That's kind of how it goes. If you're really into like a deep community, you tend to be in the chat a lot more. Like the Nostalgianomics dude, the Pokemon investor guy. I was in his stream on Friday, and I was just chatting there, and it was wild because like there's this active group of 500 people that deeply care about Pokemon, and it was new to me. I was like new to that community, so I was checking it out. But I imagine there's tons of you guys that are new to this community. You get into the chat, and you're seeing there's like a vibrant, thriving community of people that are participating. But the far majority of people don't comment. They kind of just sit back and watch and chill out. When you move out, your new neighbors will love 9:30 and 4 a.m. and 4 p.m. every day. Dude, I'm thinking of moving out to a really nice place, guys. Like a really nice place. And I'm justifying it because it's going to also be beneficial for my taxes because it's basically going to be a studio as much as it's going to be a place to live. So there's, a bunch of laws and regulations where you can take a certain percentage of it and use it as a tax write-off. So I'm thinking of getting a really nice place, like a really nice place. And I'm still not sure if I'm going to do it. I'm looking at the website right now, but like we might see the World Trade Center in the background of the market open, dude. That's the type of place I'm looking at. I'm looking at a really nice place. Again, don't know if it's going to happen. Don't want to get my hopes up. But like we might see the New York City skyline in the back of my place. So I think 2025 could be really fun when we move out and we like have a legit official studio. It would be so cool. But we got to see. We got to see if it can happen. Isn't that going to cost a fortune? It's definitely going to cost some money. But again, look, dude, at the end of the day, I need my own place. A, because I'm going to be 28 years old next year. I just need my own place. B, if we're taking media to the next level, there is a little bit of an investment you need to make, right? If I'm going to have Tom Lee come to do an in-person podcast with me, I can't do it at my house. He's not going to come to some random suburb in New Jersey. He's going to be close to the city because he lives in New York, right? Like if we're going to be at the center of finance media, we got to get close to the center of finance media, which is New York. Number two, it's like, as I did the math on it, it is going to be cheaper to rent than to buy a property. It just is. And the cash flow I can make on having that money in the stock market versus in a property that I'm paying taxes on and establishing a 30-year mortgage on at 7%. It's like night and day. There's like no reason at all. There's zero reason at all to buy a house. Like the math just does not add up. So my goal is 2 years of an apartment. And then by the time I'm 29, 30, then we'll look into buying a house and like actually, having an official spot. But I think for the next 2 years, it makes sense to rent and it makes sense to go a little bit more, to spend a little bit more if we're building out a whole studio. I think it is worth it for the overall media business as well. Mitt's tired of explaining his family the grinder dates he takes to his room are just the home. Oh my God, that's hilarious. That is hilarious. No, dude, I gotta move out. At this point, I want to move out. Are your parents kicking you out? No, bro. My mom was telling me to stay home today. She doesn't want to kick me out. My dude, again, Indian parents is different, bro. Indian parents want you to stay in your house. Like they don't want you to leave. But my mom also wants me to like find a wife and have kids. And I'm like, yeah, mom, I kind of got to move out for that to happen. So also, I just think in general, bro, if you're a guy, expectations from women are going up. All right. And they want to make sure you have your shit together. And in order to make sure you have your shit together, one of the better ways to prove you have your shit together is by having your own spot, not saying you live at home with your parents. That's number one. Number two, you want to make sure you like my goal in 2024 was to establish two things. Number one, a realistic form of income via a media business, which ended up becoming YouTube and Twitter. And that went to levels that I didn't expect starting in January. I thought it could go well. It's gone very well. And I'm incredibly grateful to you guys for showing up and enjoying the content. But, Alex Karp, Vlad, all these media opportunities, like I think there's a really big opportunity to take that to the next level. And I've proved to myself, most importantly, that it's sustainable and that I can wake up every morning and do this and I can call this my career, right? So that's the first thing I needed to do this year. Number two, what I needed to do this year is get the fucking money. Get the fucking money. Like, and when I mean get the fucking money, I mean at this stage of my life, at 27 years old, there was a number I had in my head. I wanted to get that number. I've exceeded that number. And the goal is to now protect that number and grow that number. And I really wanted to establish those two things in 2024 before worrying about the girlfriend and about moving out and then all the other stuff. And, I know a lot of people, joke around and all this stuff about dating and all that. But I have another friend who's a girl and I'm good friends with her. And she was on the phone with me the other day and she's in a relationship and she's thinking of like breaking up. And it's so funny because I was like, I hate to tell you this, but 3 years ago, because we've been friends for a long time, I told her 3 years ago, she wants to be creative, be an entrepreneur, all this stuff. And 3 years ago, I was like, yo, you got to be single to do that. I'm sorry, but like, it's not easy to want to be creative and entrepreneurial and take on the world and like start a business and like, make content and actually find a way to squeezle. I don't even know if that's a word, but like find a way to like get a Vlad interview or talk with Alex Karp or like do all this crazy creative content shit. It's really hard if you got to text her every day and care about her emotions. Okay. And if you don't text her every day and care about her emotions and get on FaceTime, like she's probably not going to stay. Whereas if you're single and you don't have to give a fuck about anybody except yourself, and you can just go guns a-blazing and not have to worry about having to go to California next week and because you have some date plan with your girl. It's like, no, there is no girl. You don't have any date plans. You can just go to California, go do your work, build up your brand equity, do what you need to do, establish the moat of you as a content creator, get more and more people into your ecosystem, establish like the business that you're building. And then a year or two later, for me, it's been about 2-3 years on this journey. Now, when you start dating, what is the number one thing girls are attracted to, in my opinion? Potential, ambition. That's what they are attracted to. In my opinion, people could disagree, but I think most women are attracted to potential and ambition. And if you have potential and ambition and you actually can show for it based on, whatever metrics that qualify as showing for it, and you have a net worth that makes you feel comfortable enough to pay for a $250 dinner and not have to like worry if that's going to break the bank, that puts you in a much stronger position, I think, to find a partner. And when I was on the phone with her and she's thinking of breaking up with her boyfriend, I'm like, well, of course you're thinking of breaking up with your boyfriend. A, because he's pulling you down. He's probably not that creative he's probably not that supportive about your creative endeavors. Why? Because most people aren't going to support you when you're super creative. Because when you're super creative, you're not making any money. You don't have a job. You're just an artist with your guitar trying to get the world to listen to your songs. Like, it's a really fucking tough spot to be in. And very few people survive, much less monetize and make a business out of it, which is the anxiety that I talk about a lot of times as being a creator. Like, once you get the attention, once you get the following, you have to keep it. So it's like, you haven't even started. Like, once you go from 0 to 1, now you got to go from 1 to 10. And that's really difficult. And if you stop, you become irrelevant because content creation moves so quick that you kind of fall out of the mainstream landscape. So it is an incredibly difficult thing to do. And it's also harder if you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend that's constantly begging for your attention. So yeah, starving artist, right? Like, it's so interesting because I think my entire life, I've been pretty good with just the concept of money. And let me give you guys an example. not saying I'm like the biggest genius when it comes to money or thing, but this example I think will contextualize it. When we went to debate tournaments back in high school, we would get $50 a day to spend on food, right? That was a stipend that the school gave us. And I went on a lot of debate tournaments. So debate tournaments for 3 days a week, or 3 days a tournament. So 50 times 3, $150. I would save as much as I could of that 150, and I would try to spend maybe like $30 for those 3 days so I could keep that 120, and then I could do something with that $120, right? And there's a certain level of mentality you have to have as like a 16-year-old, 17-year-old kid of like, hey, maybe I don't need to splurge all this money. I can get like, you know, I don't have to get the most extravagant meal on this tournament. I can get like a small meal and I can save this money and then I can use this money for something else. I've always had that money mindset in the back of my head. On top of this, I've always been incredibly creative, even though I applied my creativity in industries that I was not naturally talented at. For example, music. Wanted to be the next Michael Jackson, next Justin Bieber. That didn't work out, okay? Your boy can't sing. It is what it is. Your boy can't sing. So when you have that level of creativity attached with that level of financial thinking, at least in your mind, and you put those two together and it culminates into like the brand we're building right here, it can become really exciting if you can keep taking that to the next level. But in order to do that, you've got to remember that most people, when they try to be creative, become starving freaking artists. They have no understanding of money. They have no understanding of a game plan. They have no understanding of execution. They have no understanding of, hey, how do I calculate the math on my creativity so I can actually make enough to live off of it? If you're lucky enough to live off of it, like most people don't get it, bro. How do I make sure I don't sell out to my audience so I'm making enough money in other endeavors like the stock market, for example, so I don't have to sell my audience bullshit courses and stuff like that? Like, you've got to combine all of those things together to function in this environment as an actual creative that can make money off their art, which is so difficult to do because you got a billion other people on YouTube making content, competing for the same attention. And then at the same time, you're like, oh yeah, but I have my girlfriend and boyfriend. Nobody, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Every Friday night when we're doing Palantir Weekly, establishing a moat as a content creator with the Palantir community to know they can rely on Amit for Palantir news and content. If I'm out there with my girlfriend every Friday, you're just not building that brand equity. And now after 2 years, I think we've built up enough brand equity to the point where if I take a couple Fridays off a year because I'm with my girlfriend, people are okay with that. But in the beginning stages, you gotta really get there. And no one wants to go from 0 to 1, and they want to be so distracted with, to me, silly things like a relationship in your early 20s, which is like, you just don't need to have that type of pressure if you have ambitions to be creative. If you don't have ambitions, if you want to live a regular life and like you don't need to like build your own shit, then of course, like, right, then a relationship is super rewarding. But a relationship can be super draining if you're actually trying to build something for yourself. Those are my thoughts on it. And 2024 was the year, really from 2022 to 2024, but 2024, I came into January thinking, hey, these are my 2 goals. Make my creativity actually monetizable in whatever, without selling out, which means you just got to grow, bro. Because most YouTubers don't make money, bro. Like I've seen a lot of YouTuber analytics. They don't make money because YouTube, as rewarding as it is when you get the audience in the beginning stages to get the audience, you don't make money. First of all, YouTube takes 45% of everything. Second of all, you need a lot of views to even get to like $1,000 a month, right? So why do they sell all these courses? Because most people don't make money on YouTube ads. And so they have to sell something external to fucking monetize. So the goal in 2024 was try to make it on YouTube, not care about the money, because technically if you're good enough at the stock market and you like know what you're doing, hopefully you can make some money in the market where you don't have to rely on YouTube. But if YouTube's paying, that's also really good. And then do that in a way that doesn't cause you to sell out. And then 2, get to a number that you feel is reasonable enough to be independent and live on your own without having to worry about paying for rent or all this type of stuff. And both of those things kind of happened this year. And now I'm more focused on the girl and getting to the next stage of life. But we had to do that. We had to do that this year. We had to do that in 2024 to get there. You guys are saying Amit's cooking right now. The hand gestures going crazy. That's how you know the rant. Yo, why do you guys always get me on a rant somehow, bro? Gene's probably smiling because Gene and Toto said, hey, let's go on a rant, and they found a way to get me there. I don't know how this happens every time, bro. I don't know what you guys do, but this happens every time. Eddie says, Amit, are you worried you will attract a groupie instead of a wife? Your platform is getting huge, and that will always be a question if you wait too long. So you know, it's funny you bring this up. Me and my mom talked a lot yesterday. Me and my mom have a great relationship, but because my life is super busy and her life is busy as well, she's been going through a career transition as well. She's actually switching districts. We don't get to talk as often. So yesterday when I took her out on a date, we talked for like 10 hours straight, right? And one of the things she's really afraid about is that if I meet a girl and that girl is attracted to follower count or, you know, net worth or whatever, then that's not going to be an authentic relationship. And I think the hedge against that is, well, first of all, don't tell her how much money you have. I think that's important, right? So whatever, like in the first couple of dates, like you just don't tell her how much you're worth ever, because like you only do that if you really are getting serious about it. Because if she knows how much you're worth, I think that's a big deal. So like I wouldn't ever disclose my net worth to her. And then in regards to YouTube and follower count and the show, I think there's a nuance to this, because if you tell a girl, hey, you know, we do a live show every morning and it's this like new version of CNBC or yada yada, like they're gonna be confused, right? And most likely she's gonna be like, all right, are you just like some, you know, random wannabe YouTuber, right? So there's a level of disclosure you have to have of like, no, like we have a real community of people and they're enjoying the content and got to meet all these CEOs, yada yada, and like, you know, kind of a big deal in the Palantir community. People really respect you, all this stuff. Now, a lot of that's not going to matter to her, but it should be enough for her to realize, oh, this guy's not like trying to be some, you know, artist. This guy's like in his artist era and he's actually like expanding his reach and like getting there, right? And he's like really taking it to the next level. So at that point, I don't know how to hedge against them using the follower count as like a metric to clout chase. You would just hope that that girl's not like that, right? I met her pre-split. Oh my God. That's hilarious. Now, again, that Robinhood Gold card, when I drop that on the table, that might be the net worth indicator right there. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, look, in general, you want to show a girl that you have potential, you have ambition, you've actually executed against that potential and ambition. And that's going to be her finding out about your life, right? Finding about you guys, finding out that there's this like community and all this stuff. And you would hope that they're impressed by that, not that they want to take advantage of that. I think the other way to hedge against that is not dating an influencer. That would be really nice. Like, I don't want to date some influencer, bro. Now, would they relate to the struggles of being a content creator? Yes. But more likely than not, I don't know. I don't want to date an Instagram model. I don't want to, like, I kind of want to have someone who's just like normal, you know? And because I'm already a content creator. I don't want to have a date. I want to date someone who's just like a regular 9 to 5, bro. I've always joked that I want to date a teacher. I wouldn't mind dating like a teacher. Like it kind of be wholesome and cool. So that's the way I'm thinking about it. But yeah, I think the number one thing is not to say my net worth or anything like that, because that can definitely lead to issues. I also don't know, dude. I don't know. Do people say how much they make on a first date or a second date? Do people actually say their income? I feel like that doesn't happen on the first couple of dates. You just can still DCA Palantir. That's facts. I think it's the DCA Palantir. Like, I feel like you don't say that, right? You know, that's like a fifth or seventh date type of conversation. That's not the first or second date. Yeah, you guys are saying that doesn't happen. Yeah, I would imagine that does. Yeah, so that's not. I'm just saying I wouldn't do that. But I'm wondering if someone would ask for that, and if they do, I feel like there's a red flag. Like if you say how much money you make, I don't know, bro. I feel like you can lightly talk about it, but that's not something you're supposed to disclose, especially on a first date, bro. You don't even know if you like that person. Amid on the first date after she tells a story, not bad at all. All right, so you guys think I'm not a good listener because I talk so much. Phil says you need to find someone who knows how to talk. I am a very good listener, okay? And I'm not saying that to be arrogant here. Literally, like, I did debate in high school. The only way you get good at debate is if you listen to your opponent's arguments and you can rebut them. And I was one of the top 3 public speakers in Europe, one of the top 7 debaters in the United States of America. The only way you get there is if you actually listen to their arguments and then break them down. I think I'm actually a pretty phenomenal listener. The thing is, I talk for 3 hours every morning to you guys, so it doesn't seem like it. But I think I listen really well. And in my past, in regards to dating, I think one of the reasons that I think one of the reasons I told this story a while ago. I'm not going to get into the whole story, but I know how to listen, bro. I mean, I was one time I was at this party with a girl in college back in 2020, and dude, we stayed up from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. talking. I wasn't doing all the talking. Let me just say that. That was a lot of listening. And then, then the next week we went on a date, and then it kind of went forward from there. And it was a really fun experience. But like, I listened because I know how to listen and I know how to ask good questions from listening. I mean, I am a podcaster interviewer. I should be able to fucking think of a question while I'm listening to you, and hopefully that question is insightful. So I think when I start dating, the listening is not going to be an issue. I think the conversations are going to be really well. I just want to make sure money is not the topic of concern, because even though I should have enough money to handle everything, which is the goal of this year, but I don't want to disclose any of that, because that can lead to issues long term. I'm not getting into the full story. I told the story many times. I'm not getting into the full story, but the gist of the story was like, we stayed up all night talking, and then like, it was a deep conversation, dude. It was some deep philosophy. Then the next morning I woke up, I was late for class. She sent me this like 5-paragraph text message after 4 hours of just seeing her, of just like, oh, this was a great conversation. You actually listened to me, blah, blah. There's all this shit. And then we ended up starting dating for a bit, and it was fun. But the point is, I think I know how to listen. And that's why it's fun. And that's why I think it'll be good next year as well. It was a dream, wasn't it? Oh my God, bro. That's hilarious. Your first date is good if the main topic is either Elon or Karp. Well, here's the thing. If she likes the stock market, I think it can either go great because we have something mutual to talk about, which is, I think, super cool, or it can go bad because then like we're not really connecting on anything else other than stocks. And I don't know. Maybe you want something different than that. Also, I feel like sometimes you want a partner that isn't into the same things you're into, so that you have like, you can escape the stock market world when you're done with that part of your day and move on to something else. So I don't know. We're gonna have to see. But anyway, you guys got me going on a rant again. Look, the goal in 2024 was to dating rants with a mid. The goal in 2024 was to get the money and establish myself. And I was telling my mom, I'm really intentional about shit. If I have a plan, I'm not always going to execute perfectly against the plan, but I'm going to try. 2024 has been one of those years that it was solid execution. It's a lot of fucking hard work, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of grinding, a lot of anxiety, but still managing through it to get to the point where I'm at right now, which is at the end of the year, I've established a decent amount of the life that I want to establish, which is why I'm even thinking like I have the right to move out to some, expensive apartment, because we worked hard for it, right? Like at this, like, I know a lot of people talk about saving money and stuff like this, and you're not supposed to just blow it. But if you worked really hard, you also deserve to enjoy some things in life. And a nice apartment is one of those things, along with the fact that it's a tax write-off because it's part of the business. So I think there's a lot of like nuances to like actually moving out and doing it in the right way. And if this new apartment can get you the Dan Ives in person, the Tom Lee in person, the Chamaths in person, the David Sachs in person, if we can actually get that from this investment, then this investment is the cheapest. I mean, it's the best ROI ever, because attention is the currency of our generation. To get the attention, you have to have the content. To get the content, you actually do have to have a decent area to create the content, right? I know I'm doing this through my setup right here because it's just the market open, but if you have the big guys that actually want to talk to you and actually want to sit down and have a conversation, if Michael Saylor says, hey, I want to have a conversation with you, like, you need a decent place. You can't just be sitting right here, And so I think it's worth an investment, but that investment's only possible because, we worked our asses off this year to get there. How do you plan to meet this companion amid a dating site, perhaps? I don't know, bro. I have no idea what dating's going to be like. Probably going to be using the apps. I'm also just going to be going out a lot more. So I don't know. I have no clue. We'll figure it out. But I know I got to move out, bro. I know I got to move out. Like, again, the reason I started this conversation, I got really on a lot of different angles here. But the original point was girls want a guy that has their shit together, because the threshold for girls to date and then say yes to you as a life partner is growing. It is what it is. You either complain about that as a guy, or you live up to the challenge. And I think and I think there will be a balance as well. I think some girls' expectations have gotten kind of insane, and like they're not like, if you want a 6'5" guy who's a billionaire, like, yeah, you're gonna have to settle for maybe a 5'9" guy who's making 300,000, right? Like, and that's okay. That's not a bad thing. But some of these expectations are wild. In general, I think it's hard to say, yeah, I can take care of you, I can make you feel safe, I can protect you, and then you live at your mom's house. It's like, no, bro. Like, that's not happening. That's like, so you like, I do think for guys, they do have to have their own place. Like, it's just very important. It gives girls, I think, a sign of like knowing, okay, this guy is at least on the path to having his own shit together. So I think that's important. And then on top of that, you gotta show that you have potential and ambition. But the only way to show that you have that potential and ambition is to not be in the starving artist phase. And I think I've been in that phase basically for the past 5 years. It's been a long up and down of different ideas, different things to get to this moment. And I can finally say I don't think I'm a starving artist. But I have been an artist for the past 5 years in my own different ways. I mean, dude, I started a podcast in 2020 with my friend. That podcast was never going to succeed, but you're just out of college. You're like, all right, we're going to make the next big podcast. You go through so many ups and downs and ideas. And then eventually, if you're creative enough and energetic enough, and you still believe in the mission of like wanting to live off your art, which a lot of people give up on later in their life because they can't do it, right? And it's like it's a sad reality, but it happens. And that's why I'm so grateful for you guys, grateful for this community, grateful to be working every single day, because if you are actually living off your art, you are living one of the most privileged lives in human history. It's that simple. If you are living off your art, you are living one of the most privileged lives in human history. Living off your art is a dream. It's a goal. It's like, dude, you have one life and you get to live off being creative. Like, that's incredible. But a lot of times people fuck that up easily because they're like, let's Hawk to a girl. I mean, dude, can you believe this Hawk to a girl? 15 minutes of fame off a joke about giving a blowjob. And now she established this big media enterprise. Mark Cuban's talking with her, all this shit happening. And then she gives it up for a meme coin? Are you kidding me, dude? She's a girl from a town with 24,000 people in Tennessee making millions of dollars off of a random TikTok. Like, talk about luck. And you give it up for a meme coin. And now she's potentially, I don't know if she's going to go to jail, but she's getting SEC tapped her on the shoulder and said, hey, we got to talk. Like, it's just like the nerve of some people to give up a life that billions of people would dream about for a little bit more money on a cryptocurrency. Like, I think that's the level of humility you have to have as a content creator. But if you get to that point, dude, you have to keep expanding and building on that brand. And it takes a level of dedication without intervention from a girl or from a guy if you're a girl, or a guy if you're gay. Not saying I'm gay, but I know you guys are gonna love talking about that. But the point is, you have to have not a significant other to get to that point. I believe that. I don't think most people can get to out of the starving artist phase if they have a significant other. There are some people that can do it. There are some people that can do it. There are some people that can get from starving artist to artist that is living off their art without the girlfriend or boyfriend inside of their life during that time. But I think most people can't. I think most people can't because it is too demanding, bro. If she wants to FaceTime at 10 p.m. and you're working and you're distracted because you want to FaceTime with her, like, you're not going to work, bro. And if you're not going to work, you're not going to get shit done. And if you're not going to get shit done, GG on getting out of the starving artist phase and actually making a living off of your creativity. Again, I just don't think people understand how hard it is to make a living off of creative work. You are so contingent on the entire world to accept whatever you're putting out there. And then you can, work and gear it in a certain way if you get some momentum, but it's so much work. And I think, a girl in the middle can definitely stop that. So I think it's important. I think it's really, really important to try to figure that out. You guys are loving this, bro. You guys are loving this. I know a lot of you guys think I'm gay, dude, but I'm not gay. That's why I'm able to have a thick skin and not really get disturbed by these grinder comments or whatever. Like, I know myself. I know I'm not gay. There's nothing wrong with being gay. I personally know I'm not gay. I have some evidence to prove that. So to myself. So if I'm not gay, you guys can make jokes about it. But the jokes have taken a life on their own ever since I invested in Grindr. Ever since that, I know a lot of you guys are like, nope, we can't. But I'm like, all right, well, it's up. I invested because it was a good company. That's why I invested in. So, your wife will understand your perspectives. Girls will distract you. Yeah, I agree. Amit, once you have babies, the game changes completely. Yeah, that's another thing, dude. Like, I want to have a big family, dude. I want to have 3 kids. And I'm also thinking, all right, I need to move out. I need to get into the dating scene. I want to probably get married in 4 or 5 years, dude. I don't want to wait too long. I want to have kids by the time I'm 31, 32. I'm 27. I know it's an aggressive timeline, but like, I want to get to that point in life as well. And when I have kids, I don't know if I'll be able to fucking travel to AIPCon to host a halftime show. But I could do it at 26 because I have no responsibilities. I have no girl holding me back. and I can just go with the wind and go execute and build, So I think the next couple of years, I have that opportunity to just keep grinding. And after that, life gets hard. And, Adam, I got to give a shout out to Adam Bergman. Adam Bergman told me a couple years ago, this is one of my, Adam Bergman, good friend of the channel. He told me, because he's like 42 right now. He told me, I think he was 37 at the time, or 39. I was like 23. He was like, dude, this is the time of your life where you can actually grind. Your 20s are the time of your life where you can really grind and not have to like feel guilty about grinding, right? And there's still moments I feel guilty, bro, like, that I can't talk to my parents or my sister or anything like that. I'm just working. But this is the time of your life where you can grind, you can get shit done, and then after that, you'll figure out how to take it to the next level and get a family and kids and all that stuff. Because it's just hard when you have a wife and kids, bro. It's hard. Like, even Coach Rep. You know why Coach Rep canceled the freaking? You can really grind. Oh my god. You know why Coach Rep canceled the podcast? His wife said no. Coach Rep's wife was like, "Yeah, we're having a family game night. Like, you're not doing a podcast." And Coach Rep, he was texting me, he's like, "Dude, I'm sorry, bro. My wife's just not, she's just not letting me do this podcast." I'm like, "Dude, don't worry. I get it. It's no." But like, that was the reason, bro. His wife, she was like, "No, you're going to have a family game night with us. You're not going to be on some Palantir Weekly podcast." So like, it happens as you get older. But if you're in a certain age where you don't have to worry about that, you can just keep working. That's it. All right, I think that's it. Is that enough for today? It's enough of a rant. So Colt says old wives. Yeah, I would imagine old wives. How long, dude? How is this true? I don't get how I keep talking, dude. I don't get it. At this point, we've done a rant like 3 times this week, and each of these rants go on for 45 minutes. And I don't know how. At 51 minutes and 34 seconds, I started talking about the macro economy. That's what I'm looking at in my notes. We are 2 hours and 10 minutes into this. When did we stop talking about the macro? What's the timestamp I have to put in for a mid rant? Like, goodness gracious, bro. Every time. Every single time. Wall says, I just love this channel. It's more than I bargained for. It's like buy one, get one. Oh my gosh. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you all being here. But honestly, I talk about what I talk about in my regular life. And so I had a long conversation that I'm having with you guys right now with my mom yesterday. And so basically I'm bringing that conversation to you guys, like, and I told my mom at the beginning of the year, I was like, Mom, this is the number I want to get to. And this is the business I want to build. And if I can do this year, then I think next year, we'll think about the next steps. I remember having this conversation with her early January this year. I was like, this is what I'm doing, and let's see what happens. And it's been a good year. Not every year is good, bro. 2022 sucked, not just in the stock market, right? But like life-wise, 2022 sucked. 2021 was not that good either. 2023 was like 2024 has been one of the better years. And you don't get a good year every single year, right? Like, I'm sure all of you guys can relate. Like, there's a bunch of personal shit that happens. Forget the stock market. Like, there's all these factors. 2024 has been a relatively decent year. And, now you just want to continue that momentum, keep it up, but move on to the next phase of life. And that next phase for me is moving out on my own and, taking this to the next level. We had to work in 2024 to get there. We had to work to get there. All right, I think that's it. I think that is it for today. We will get him into 69 million subs end of year. Dude, we are at like 52,000. What are we at right now? We're at 52,535, and I think just 2 weeks ago we were at 50,000. So, you guys have just been incredible. And if you guys watch my videos, and I'm pretty sure all of you guys can agree with, I have never said to please like and subscribe, like ever. Like, I'm pretty sure 100% of you guys would say, I've like at the end of the video or at the beginning, I have never said to like, and you know what? I've never said that since 2021 when I started making the original Palantir videos. I was like, because I used to see all these big YouTubers end out by like and they're like and subscribe, and I just felt it was tacky. I was like, if people like it, they'll subscribe. Like, why do you have to tell them to like? If someone actually wants to see this content in the future, they will. That's why I don't get on Twitter when people are like, please follow. I'm like, dude, if people wanted to care about following your thoughts and ideas, they will press follow. It doesn't cost them anything. You don't have to tell them to do it. And so same thing with liking and subscribing. I've never said that, but I think that is also what has led people to just want to subscribe if they actually care about it. And I'm looking at the subscribers right now. Yeah, we got 5,200 subscribers in the past month, past 28 days. This year, 2024, we've got 26,000 subscribers, which is 176% higher than January 10th to December 31st, 2023. So we basically 2x'd the subscriber growth in 2024. And see, that's great. That's amazing. That's awesome. Super grateful. But like, this is the harsh reality of content creation. How do you get the next 2x next year? How do you keep growing? How do you get that from 26,000 to 50,000? Like, that is the duopoly of being a content creator. It's like you feel so much gratitude that people actually care about your content, but at the same time, you're like, you know, you have to keep it growing. And by the way, that's the same problem that the public companies have. Karp just delivered a $700 million quarter. Now we want to see 900 million. Vlad just gave us freaking 637 million. Now we're looking for 800 million, right? And then after 800 million, we're going to be looking for $1 billion a quarter. Like, it's this constant mindset and evolution on growth at all costs, because that's how the economy moves forward. That's how your life moves forward. But at the same time, being humble enough and grateful enough to value the growth that you're currently having, and to be in that stage where you're actually in the process of scaling the growth versus trying to get those initial people to grow, those initial users, those initial investors, et cetera, whatever it is. That requires a different type of discipline, you know, and a level of consistency as well. So I think that's very, very important. What's happening with the gym? That's another thing, dude. I can't believe I forgot to mention that. But 2025, that's another goal, like a major goal, is health, because I've been eating like shit this year. And my justification for eating like shit is like, I'm traveling, I'm busy, I'm streaming. In general, dude, if you look up any like streaming lifestyles are incredibly unhealthy, because you're sitting in front of a camera for 6 hours a day. And then when you get off the camera, like, you have no motivation to go run or go to the gym, because like you're tired. You just like spent 6 hours like draining your brain out to like talk about stuff. Like, you just want to like take a nap for a little bit. So I'm also working on a schedule next year that can get the workout done earlier in the day and then keep things moving throughout the day. I'm also working on a new diet, bro. I want to eat a lot of fruit next year. I want to completely get rid of soft drinks, soda, juices, all that stuff. Like, no caramel lattes. That's why I'm kind of more interested in black coffee after I had it this weekend. I'm like, you know what, if I could drink that in the morning, get my caffeine, get my energy, instead of needing something super sugary. We need to have an entire refresh of my health, because that's the other thing. If you make a lot of money, but you can't like fucking, you know, live long enough to celebrate the money, or like be healthy enough or feel proud of the way you look, then what's the point of all that money, right? So health and moving out in 2025 is going to be the big goal. And I would implore everyone. This is what I was talking about Steve. I was talking to Steve on Friday. I was like, so Steve, what are your 2025 goals? How are you reflecting on 2024? And he was like, he basically said that's stupid to do. And I just fundamentally disagree with him. I'm like, in 2024, at the end of 2024, I think everyone, no matter where you are in life, what you've done, you should find 5 good things that happened this year, 5 things that you want to improve on from 2024. And then be very intentional about 2025. And I think the max number of goals everyone should have in the new year is 3. You have 3 goals. Realistically, it should be 1, because it's so hard to live up to goals. But I think 3 is like, okay, some people have like 10 goals. Like, dude, 3 is enough. For me, it's health and move out. Got to do those 2 things, health and move out. And moving out is a proxy on if I'm doing well enough in life to be able to afford to move out. Because right now I can afford it, but I want to really be able to afford it. So moving out is more so going to be a proxy of like, okay, I'm doing okay in life. Financially, I can afford to move out. And then health is like, I just got to get healthier. That's it. Those are my 2 goals. We do those 2, then we can, you know, keep moving on and keep going from there. We're not starting another rant, dude. All right, we got to get out of here. Where's Palantir overnight? Palantir 81.47. I will see you guys on the market open tomorrow. We're holding 80, folks. We're holding 80. 7 a.m. tomorrow, pre-markets. We'll see how this continues to go. At 9:30, if we can open at 80, it's going to be very, very exciting for Palantir. Robinhood as well, slightly down about 7 cents, 0.18%, even though Bitcoin's down. Bitcoin at 94,875. But Palantir, maybe we are in the 80s. Maybe we are beginning to be in the 80s. There you go. All right, everybody. Thank you. Love you all. I'll see you guys on the market open tomorrow. And that's it. We'll be back at 8:45 a.m. Really original. Thank you for the $5 super chat. This super chat is sponsored by Buying Hood at 15 with you when we had a low in August. Thanks, Amit. Congratulations to Buying Hood. I think $15 was a great entry. And I think Hood is just getting started. By the way, we'll talk about this more tomorrow. They got 129,000 gold subscribers because we did the math on their like Gold Monday giveaway. So they spent $1 million and they generated $5 million. 5x ROI. I think if they keep doing that, their gold subscription revenue every month could like really increase. So we'll talk about that tomorrow morning. But Hood is doing some amazing things, and they're not doing too bad. I did clap like 30 minutes ago, right? You guys saw I did clap 30 minutes ago, and I'm not clapping again because if I clap again, then it's gonna be another 40-minute rant, and I can't do this. It's been 2 hours and 18 minutes, but there you go. 81.45 on Palantir. I'll see you guys tomorrow. We got about 5 trading days left in December, and that's it. And then we're done with this year. All right. Thank you, everybody. No clapping, but we are done for tonight. I'll see you guys on the next one. Dude, if I clap, I can't do it. I'm going to stay for another 15 minutes. I can't do it. I can't clap. All right. Bye, everyone. I'll see you guys in the morning. Good night.